can go get us a W. Hell yeah. Ready. Green. What the Copy. Right foot down. We had to go flat. Unbelievable, man. Way to keep your head in it. Holy oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. What? Yeah. I'm done with it. Miss your face. Set sail. Steve, you look beautiful. Doing great. Ridiculous, man. Holy. You see that? Holy cow. Good job, man. Two times, baby. Yeah. Holy crap.
You know, I just thought it was fitting, and for those who are listening over audio, you're not going to get this part, but for you watching right now, you'll get this. I thought it was fitting that we postponed the start of this a little bit later than we all expected to, seeing how the 2024 schedule came out. Welcome, everybody, to the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, the Iceberg. You're on my channel. I hope you know who I am, and if not, hi, welcome to the channel. Next to me over there is Danny B in the beautiful Oilers hat, and there's the, down there is the fan of the lesser Houston football team, the Texans.
He's just salty that I'm allowed to wear this hat.
Hey, we all won this week. We all won this week.
Hey, Danny, we're tied for the division lead right now. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, we're gonna me and Darian are actually gonna go watch the Titans and Colts game this weekend. So hopefully we add another win to our column.
Well, this is the NASCAR Weekly Podcast and not the Football Weekly Podcast, so I think we'd still knock that one out of the park. But guys, we need to get into, before we get into the schedule, before we get into Talladega, before we get into the Roval this weekend, we're pretty good at hot takes here, and I want to hear y'all start them off. And right now, I think I'm going to start off with Eric. What's your hot take this week?
This is not going to be a hot take, but it's just something I had a thought while I was having a nice hot shower earlier today. It hit me suddenly. We bag on Stewart-Haas Racing quite a bit, deservedly so, but it really hit me just how awful their predicament is. The penalty that Kevin Harvick got for a couple loose windshield fasteners is just the latest of what's been an absolute disastrous year. Going back to last season, 4 massive penalties for Stewart-Haas Racing in the past calendar year. No other team comes close. But it got me thinking, Stewart-Haas Racing not only has struggled this past year by their standards, they are the only team in the NASCAR Cup Series right now actively getting worse. Like, look around. Other teams that have struggled, like Legacy Motor Club, they're about to join Toyota. They'll be a lot better. Spire, with all that Gamebridge investment, they're about to be a lot better. Hell, even Rick Ware Racing. They brought Ryan Newman in this year to drive some of their cars. They signed Justin Haley. They've got a partnership with RFK Racing. If Colleague Racing brings AJ Allmendinger back to Cup next year, Stewart-Haas is the only team actively getting worse. And think about that for a moment. That just is crazy to me. Just seems like they're completely mismanaged. They're disorganized, leading to these different penalties. Leadership seems inactive. Tony Stewart was off drag racing this weekend while his cars were getting disqualified. It's just a disaster over there. And they're about to lose Kevin Harvick to retirement. I just don't see how it gets better. I really don't.
Oh, that's some good ones right there, Eric. I'll go next on this one, and I'm going to just basically say we'll get into more of the overall schedule for 2024 later, but I just got to say a lot of missed opportunity on the part of Speedway Motorsports this year. They had a chance to possibly put Sonoma into the West Coast swing. Instead, that second date then goes to Atlanta Motor Speedway to start the year. And that would have just been perfect to put Sonoma in that place, get the green grass there. And then also you've got Bristol moving to March, which we've already seen this song and dance a time or two. We know it's very likely it could be rainy season, could possibly even still be cold enough to snow during that time in East Tennessee. I know it because I lived there most of my life. So just very, very risky. And then, it's great for the playoff race, but I'm expecting low crowds at both Bristol races this year because the spring date is going to be probably plagued by weather. And, well, from where it stands right now, it looks like the night race is going to go head-to-head with Tennessee hosting Florida. So that's another one where your East Tennessee crowd has to do a toss up and what they want to go see that weekend. So I'm expecting low turnouts for Bristol as well. Just overall failed scheduling opportunities by SMI this year.
Well, I'm going to talk about the schedule as well, but I'm going to go to more the front half of the schedule. One of the big changes this year was the dates of the Texas race. Is now out of the playoffs. We'll talk about this later in the show. It's out of the playoffs, and now it is, I'm counting down here. I have it on my phone right here. It is like race 7, or I think maybe 8 or 9, somewhere in there. But I noticed something else about it. It's on FS1. It is the second of 2 in a row for the first 2 races in FS1. My hot take is at Texas Motor Speedway. As much as I dislike it, the market works. It gets big ratings. It should be on Big Fox, especially since it's leading into Talladega. And in my opinion, Talladega is that big cornerstone of the first quarter going to the second quarter of the schedule. And after Talladega, you have a long stretch of races on cable. Fans start to kind of turn away. You need something that helps you get a little more momentum into that. And Texas being on there, I don't think would maybe break 3 million, but it would be around that number. And that's better than a lot of other races around that time can say. I know fans wouldn't like that, whether it's 400 miles or they go back to 500. I don't care. It should be on that mark ahead. I believe it was, because we have not seen any of the ratings come out yet for this past week's race at Talladega, but I believe this so far is the only race in the playoffs before Talladega that's had an increase in viewership year to year. They should take advantage of that, and I think it's a missed opportunity that they didn't. But that's my hot take. I'm sure a lot of people are. Probably are not agreeing with all of them. So I am going to poll y'all. Darian will be in here at some point. Talladega was down 10%. Damn.
Oof.
That ain't good. If not Josh Wise is correct on that one, which I don't see why you would. I don't see why you'd be lying about it. So. We'll take you at your word for now, but if you're proven wrong, we'll be more positive or negative. I don't know. But hottest take right now, pulling us as we go, and lick that like button as we're crossing over the 350 threshold. And guys, let's get into this cup race. Talladega, baby. There was a lot that went on with Talladega. I know some people were a bit negative, but personally, I'm just going to say this now. I thought it wasn't a bad race at all. I thought it was actually a pretty good race. And a lot of people were saying it was probably a race of the season. I wouldn't go that far yet. I mean, I was at Kansas, so I might be a little bit biased. We'll see what this guy here has to say about it in a moment. But Danny, lead us off. What were your thoughts just overall on the package at Talladega, how the racing was, all that?
Well, fair in mind, I watched a lot of football this weekend. I was at both college and pro Tennessee games this weekend, but I got back in time to watch the tail end of the Talladega race. What I saw of it, what I saw people talk about online, for the most part, pretty much a clean race it looked like, but you know, they were holding the lines, holding in the packs, looked good. People said still didn't look like there was a lot of passing, and what I watched, it still didn't look like a lot of passing, but I did see Ryan Blaney find a way right there at the end. He found a way to make that crossover move work on the final lap. He timed it perfectly. He took the win away from Kevin Harvick. What I saw looked like a, pretty standard Talladega race to me.
Hello, everybody.
Up, Darren. Well,
Hello.
real quick, Eric, I want to hear, what did you think of Talladega? Because I kind of gave my thoughts on it, but I want to know what you thought about it.
I thought it was really good. I thought it was the best race of the playoffs so far. I mean, I think it was, I didn't hear Kyle Petty's full take. I know what the F does Kyle Petty have to do with this, but he was the one, I think, that one of the most outspoken naysayers against this race, it sounded like. And I get where he's coming from. Like, 2 wide all race long, often 3 wide, but it was hard to really go anywhere. It felt like the middle lane would bubble to the front and then they drop to the bottom, and then the next guy would take their place, drop to the bottom, take their place. It was like a conveyor belt. It was like constantly like a rotation. At one point, I think 3 or 4 Hendrick cars were leading on the inside lane. And I looked up 10 laps later, and because so many people had gotten in front of them, they were like 7th and 8th in the inside lane. I thought, well, all they've been doing is riding. They just keep getting passed by the outside. So, sure. I think this is an example of a race where it looked at times more intense than it truly was. But let's not look past the fact that it was 2 and 3 wide. Fuel saving, fuel strategy came into play. Like, we never talk pit strategy at super speedways. We've gotten to do that a little bit this year. It adds a new layer, a new wrinkle to it. And at the end of the stages and at the end of the race, you did see people try new lines. We saw guys shuffle each other out 4 wide. And for the most part, this race was clean. There's that small wreck with Chastain and Stenhouse and Kyle Busch. There was a little bit bigger wreck when Keselowski pushed Hocevar around. And then, of course, there's a big pileup at the end. But my point is, from a pacing standpoint, this race didn't devolve like some super speedways do, like the truck race did Saturday. Like the truck race was unwatchable. It was. The end of that race was unwatchable. It was awful. It was a really bad finish to that race. The Cup race, that never happened. So, no, not the most thrilling version of 2 and 3 wide we've ever seen, but the fact that it was 2 and 3 wide was still very enjoyable, still fun to watch. And you looked at the end, I know I'm going on, you look at the end, it was the most talented super speedway racers up front. It was Blaney, it was Hamlin, it was Bubba, it was Buescher, it was Keselowski, it was all the fastest cars, Harvick, it was all the best guys at the front at the end. That's all you ask for.
Hey, don't forget about Riley Herbst now.
Oh yeah, all the best guys, and then Riley Herbst. No disrespect, but yeah, it's true. He was up there.
He had one of the coolest looking cars this past weekend, though. I'll give him that.
He did. For once, Monster did a car that was not just all black and boring.
Yeah.
But Darian, kind of leading towards the end of the race, because I think we'll lead into that part now. Ryan Blaney wins in a staggeringly large win for his standards of winning at Talladega. Third win, I believe, 12 1,000ths of a second. Again, absolutely huge after the 2 wins of 7 1,000ths of a second. Blaney at this point, how you feeling about him? Is it grooving or is it not?
No, not really. Because like even last week, I was like, okay, either Blaney's gonna, run, like I guess like mediocre for him at Talladega is like I feel like a top 10 at this point, or he's gonna win. Like I don't know. Like I feel like Talladega, like it's just one of those tracks where it's like, okay, he's either gonna run really good or he's going to get the victory. So like, I wasn't really shocked by it. And honestly, like, I don't know, him finishing, like, just like him having these close finishes at Talladega nowadays, it doesn't really shock me now. You know what I mean? It's just, oh, well, Blaney wins again, like by a small margin, but I don't know. It doesn't really change my belief that, I don't think he's going to make the championship 4. He's going to make the round of 8 again and then go out again.
Yeah, but he's in the round of 8. I think that's shocking. I'd have to go back, but I don't know. Did any of us have Blaney going to the round of 8? Predictions? Because I didn't.
Not me.
So, I mean, obviously it's a Penske car. They won the championship last year, but, if any Penske Ford was making the round of 8 this year and Penske's been a little off, I think we would have all said Logano. So, I'll give Blaney some credit. Talladega, one of his best tracks. He's won there now 3 times. Like, everyone calls it a crapshoot, but like I said a minute ago, in that top 5, top 6 at the end, it was almost all the usual suspects. Denny Hamlin was restarting at the tail end of the longest line with like 20 laps to go. He finished 4th. Like he's just that good. Some guys are just that good, and I think Blaney falls into that category.
Yeah, imagine if he didn't speed though. See, Hamlin would have like 8 championships if he didn't speed on.
Well, I do want to bring up the part that the chat jumped the gun on a little bit. We talked about that close finish that widened out 3 hours after the race. Danny, I'm going to ask you this. I asked my chat after the race about it, and I'm going to ask him again. Was this Kevin Harvick's last chance at a win, or is he going to get a win before the end of the year?
Well, I'm probably the wrong person to be asking this because at the very start of the year, I said he's not winning a race this year. He's going out without a win, and he has come so close to proving me wrong a few times, but I'm afraid with the way SHR equipment looks, and at this point, they don't want to get in the way of this championship threat either. That was their last chance to really be able to throw their, kind of hat in the mix there. I just don't see it happening. They're not going to be bringing Harvick the equipment he needs to go out and contend for the win in these last few races, and I think that's all she wrote for Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Danny on that. And I was like one of the ones I was like, no, he'll get either 1 or 2 wins in his song season. But oh man, to come that close and then later get DQ'd. I don't know. It just has to do something to you, man, because you're like, not only were you so close, the second place points get taken away from you too. So I would say Phoenix, but hey, look, we've seen in time and time again, championship 4 drivers always win Phoenix. So I'm going to say no.
They're not going to bring what he needs for that.
No, exactly. So I'm going to say no. But hey, still a good year by Swan Song season standards in NASCAR.
Yeah, still. Go ahead, Danny.
I was just going to say, this will transition to you, Eric. It's not going to be like Matt Kenseth, even though he wasn't in the playoffs them bringing race winning speed to Phoenix.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I thought you were talking about 2020, but I guess that was more of a compliment. It sounds like 2017.
Yeah.
So I started to roll my eyes preemptively there. I just hear Matt Kenseth and Swan Song, and I want to roll over in my grave.
He went out on top of JGR.
Yeah, let's pretend 2017 was Kenseth's last year. That's canonically that is correct. I was going to agree with Darian for the most part. Like I think Phoenix is Harvick's best shot, but even if he's in the mix late, like he'll pull a Jeff Gordon and pit for no reason. He'll pull a Ryan Blaney and not try to pass the leader. Like he's not going to try and impact the championship battle too much. Maybe Vegas. I could see Vegas, the first race of the next round. I feel like that race is kind of up in the air, but no, Harvick overall has had a good season, especially considering the equipment he's been given. What really sticks in my craw is how Bristol played out a couple weeks ago. And I know Rodney Childers, like he said afterwards, he was embarrassed by that performance, but one of his best tracks, great chance at potentially moving on to the round of 12. And they just missed it that badly. Like that was depressing to me. And I felt bad for Harvick fans watching that play out. So I was rooting for them on Sunday. Even though I picked Blaney to win, so I'll take that. I was honestly rooting for Harvick on that last lap because no disrespect to Blaney. I've been there, done that. We've seen him win photo finishes at Talladega. I wanted Harvick to get it. Obviously the DQ, it wouldn't have mattered at the end anyways.
Yeah. Harvick at Bristol. That just felt like a good football team like the Bengals just coming out only scoring 3 points.
Yeah, you know what? Thank God he didn't win because that would have been brutal. We would have gotten the win taken away.
Well, I'm looking at the chat, and 82% of you in the chat agree with these guys, and I'm gonna probably be in that boat as well. I hate when we all agree on stuff. I like when we argue.
Yeah.
But 82% say no, Kevin Harvick will not win by the end of his career. To 18% who are very hopeful people. I wish I had your optimism. But there was something else to be kind of optimistic about, and we don't really need to talk too much about it, but I just want to point out 70 lead changes in this race. Now, it's a little bit of, I don't know if lying kind of number is that, just because there was the kind of seesaw at the front of the different lines, but there was the ability to actually get up there and pass. So it's something I wanted to bring up really quick, just a little tidbit. But the big point that I think we should bring up is who lost a lot of points during this race. Guys like Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Ross Chastain all wreck, but Keselowski, I think, is the one that the most people kind of had a problem with. So let's see. I think, Eric, I'll start with you on this. Did Brad Keselowski do something wrong there? Or is it just a racing kind of deal where it's like, well, you got to push a rookie and they're going to have to learn somehow in there?
I mean, I don't think Brad did anything wrong. I mean, I just think sometimes at these types of tracks, Keselowski lacks situational awareness. I think I said this on my show, but I think he forgets that not everybody in the field has a rocket ship like he does. Like his car is usually one of the best at these types of races, but he gets in line behind these rookies. Like at Daytona a couple of years ago, it was Harrison Burton, spun him around. And isn't that the crash that Burton flipped in? I think in that same race, he got behind, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who's not a rookie, but we know he's always hanging it out. Sometimes he drives like a rookie, spun him out as well. So, he'd done it before, get behind Hocevar in like his 5th career start. You got to know to be a little more careful. And I think Brad overestimates who he's racing around sometimes. And, so I guess that is his fault, but it also was late in the race. You got to go. He's fighting for his playoff life. I could go either way. I do think the wreck was mostly on him, but you could argue it's the fact that it was a rookie in front of him. Rookies are just, they're going to make mistakes too. So I think it's just situational awareness. You got to know who you're pushing.
Darren, go for it.
I'm going to say kinda like you have in there. And thank goodness you put that option because I was like, you know what? That's perfect. I'm going to say kinda because, okay, like, yeah, it's towards the end of the race. Obviously, got to do what you got to do. He's in the playoffs too. But also when you look at his past history, though, on super speedways, not only has he won, he's also gotten burned a bunch of times. Like he's been involved in big ones that were absolutely not his fault. And I remember Daytona, Daytona 2018. He was like, well, I'm going to start racing these dudes like they race me on these super speedways with no respect, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think it's fully the case in this, but I feel like now he's just a tad bit more aggressive, and especially around these younger drivers too, because he's been burned by them so many times on these super speedways, getting involved in their mess. But I do think, though, and the reason I feel like he's kind of wrong in this, he does need to back off of the some of the less experienced guys on the super speedways, so to speak. Because it's like, I know people are like, oh, it's like super easy to race. You just got to, full throttle, match the gas, turn left, blah, blah, blah. But there's some aerodynamic stuff where it's like all of a sudden the car will get loose in the draft, or it'll just like shake on you and stuff. And hey, some of these younger drivers, they're not ill-equipped to handle that. And especially to some extent, bump drafting too, as we saw. So I'm going to say Brad Keselowski was kind of wrong in this situation.
I'm not really going to give an answer because I was actually driving back from the Titans game when that wreck happened. I heard it on the radio, so I didn't really get a chance to see it.
Okay, I will. I'm going to say no. I really don't think he did anything wrong. I mean, think of the circumstance with that. Circumstantial awareness is, I think, the way you put it, Eric. I'm going to put it like this. It's coming down to the end of the race. You can pass, but it is more difficult still than, say, the pre-next Gen 6 era, kind of end of the Gen 6 era package. You're not going to get the huge runs. It's going to take a lot of time to get up there, and you could be caught in the gridlock. He was stuck in the back. I mean, it was not like he was anywhere close to the front at that point. The laps are winding down. And, if Carson Hocevar is going to be put up into the Cup Series, he should be raced like a Cup Series driver. And I think the way Brad put it in his interview was right. Maybe not said completely the right way, but there's no way these rookies are going to learn until you get them in those situations. And Hocevar did have a pretty good run for the most part before that. I think that, I would probably do that with somebody maybe that you've worked with before rather than Hocevar. But if that's the guy you're around, you got to go with whoever you're around. Plus, those Ford bumpers, probably the easiest person to get bump drafted by. Well, maybe not the easiest person at Ford, but generally the easiest kind of car to get bump drafted by. So I really don't think it was all that bad. I saw a lot of people upset, and I think they were more upset at who got caught up in the crash than the crash itself. But I don't think it was that big a deal that so many people made it out to be. Now there's the chat saying 48% said nothing wrong, but 34% and 17% said kinda and yes. So I mean, I would say a little
about 50-50, honestly.
Yeah. Which fits NASCAR fans. Let's be honest. We never agree on anything.
But not as many directly said yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I kind of, that leads me, before we get into a couple little things I want to talk about before the end of it, of talking about Talladega, before we get to the playoff talk, how would you, and I'll just give me a letter grade and maybe a little quick blurb. What grade would you give the super speedway racing now after 2 years in the next gen, 2 full seasons of super speedway racing? What would you give it? Danny, I'll start with you, because I know you might not have seen all of this Talladega race, but you've seen a majority of this
still saying plenty. I'm going to give, the racing itself, I'll give it a B plus, but it's a cautious B plus, mainly because, from Harrison Burton's first trip over at the first Daytona 500 with it, to Ryan Preece's scary incident at Daytona, to even Brad catching a little bit of air, it's very obvious that much like the wing on the car of tomorrow, this flat undercarriage is gonna be a little bit of a difficult booger for us. That's for sure.
I'll give it a C plus. I think it's been adequate. I don't know. I guess I hate hearing, and it's not drivers complaining about it. Well, sometimes they do. I just hate hearing drivers complain about, we can't go anywhere with this package. It's gridlocked. We had the perfect modern bump draft super speedway rules package at the end of the Gen 6. It was flawless. Big runs. You could make moves on your own. 2 cars. You could 3 lanes, 4 lanes. It was flawless. And yet drivers complained constantly that, we wrecked too much. The runs are too big for us to handle. We can't stop blocking each other and blah, blah. It's like, all right. So we had to neuter the package because the drivers weren't good enough to handle the old package. And now they're going to complain that they can't make moves in this car. That part frustrates me the most. That's what frustrates me.
They're still going to wreck. They found ways to wreck all the time.
Exactly. So why can't we have the awesome runs, guys doing it on their own like we had 3, 4, 5 years ago? Like, I kind of wish we had the old package still, but that being said, the next gen has been adequate. It kind of satisfies everyone's needs. The fans get 2 and 3 wide racing, and the drivers don't wreck quite as often.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9, honestly. I mean, like when you take away the wrecks and stuff, like I don't know, just like the super speedway races that turn into shit shows, when they actually know what they're doing and stuff, when they're actually racing, properly, it's awesome. Like I was at the Talladega race last year, and we didn't have any wrecks towards the end, and that was some of the best racing I've ever seen in person, ever. And last Sunday's Talladega race yet again delivered and stuff. And I think where the disconnect comes is, yeah, they're all gridlocked and stuff, so like it passes the eye test, but I guess when you're actually driving, it's like, okay, what am I doing here? See, the way I see it is, I feel like to some extent, it's like when you change the AI settings in NR 2003, you could make it basically where it's like a conveyor belt, like a pack and a conveyor belt and stuff, and yeah, and all that. So I feel like this package is similar to that, and I thought that was pretty entertaining. I mean, it's not perfect. There obviously needs to be some tweaks, but like they already made some tweaks already too, and the drivers are still complaining. So in this case, I'm kind of gonna, I don't know, I'm not gonna say I don't fully care what they're saying in this case. You obviously have to listen to them to some extent, but I don't know, I love it. I'm gonna give it a 9.
So I'm gonna go, if I had to grade it A to F, give it a C. I think it's a run-of-the-mill super speedway package. I think the curve with super speedways is much tighter of a curve when it comes to which is really good and which is really bad. We've seen early Gen 6, that first Speed Weeks in 2013, that is an F. 2000 Daytona, 2000 for the most part before the Wickerbill package was an F. We've also seen some of the greatest racing in NASCAR history, whether it be, you think maybe the most previous one, which I think is my favorite at the moment, Super Speedway package. You think of the old Gen 4 era. You think even the COT era. What we constitute as great Super Speedway racing can be, and then good and average. Average Super Speedway racing, I think, would be great everywhere else. There's been high peaks, but there have been really low valleys. And I think they're on the right direction. I'll say that. Like, if this was a grade from a year ago, and if we had the same racing as a year ago, I'd give it a D, because I thought there was a lot of problems that needed to be fixed. I think some are being fixed. It reminds me a lot of the start of the Gen 6 era. People forget that the package that many liked in 2014 to 17 or so had a lot of that gridlock, except just there was one leader who kept the lines in order the whole time. You just had to be out front. It's why guys like Dale Jr. and Joey Logano were so good with that package. They knew how to get to the front and stay there. So I think at the direction they're going, it could be maybe a B-, say, by next year instead of a C. But I think it's going to take slow improvements. This is not NASCAR's number one priority when it comes to racing, and it should not be. The road courses and the short tracks definitely need it more.
The super speedways are serviceable right now. Like I don't dread going to super speedways. I'm like, oh, it'll probably be a pretty entertaining race. It'll have a couple hangups here and there, but it's going to be good. But I'll also throw this out there. I think Atlanta is the best super speedway track right now. I thought that race a couple months ago was outstanding. A lot of runs. That's where we really first started to see consistent 3-wide racing at times. And it was like, whoa, wait, where was that at Daytona and Talladega? Now we're seeing it at Daytona and Talladega. Right. Yeah.
Well, and looking at the poll, what people thought, 62% in the chat thought that this is a B-level super speedway package. A was 21%, so still a good amount. 13% gave it an average grade of a C, and then 1% of you just think this is an absolute failure of a package, D or F. Again, I'd say if this was a year ago, maybe, but I don't think necessarily now it's as bad as people will say it is, per se. Now, one last thing I want to talk about when it comes to the Chevys, and then one thing about the Ford. Starting with the Chevy drivers, I'm going to say this. I'll ask you guys going into it, but I'm totally going to give my opinion going in. William Byron ditched a 1, 2, 3, 4 line of Hendrick cars, and I freaking love it because I love it. I love the selfishness. I love that. We've seen the best super speedway drivers, like, when push comes to shove, screw your teammates, go for the win. And William Byron's going for more playoff points to possibly ensure him into that championship 4 early, because those extra 5 points will matter in this next round if he doesn't win. I love it, but I want to. Do you guys love him basically just ditching the 5, 9, and 48 when the 5 was not a must win, but definitely a need to win?
He is the only one who's, locked in. He can kind of, take advantage of that and try something else, I guess. The other two, I know I was excited coming into the end because Bowman was leading with 5 to go. I thought I was going to get to see a triple sweep of my favorites winning something, but then that went out the window. But Byron, though, having that win gives him more security to try things like that in this round.
Yeah, I loved it. It's just really surprising because, you're so used to stay with your teammates, stay with the fellow Chevy driver, Ford driver, and stuff. And I like that that some of that sort of starting to be thrown out a little bit and stuff. Hey, he's already locked in. Got to do what you got to do. Just go for the win. Just basically have some fun with it, man. I mean, if you wreck or if you win, I mean, it doesn't matter. You're on to the next round. So, hey, look, there's no team orders in NASCAR, so he wasn't given any team orders from or secret team orders from Hendrick or whoever. So hey, you got to do what you got to do. I know. So I loved it.
I like it as a fan, but from a strategic perspective, I think it was the wrong move because not only did he bail on reliable drafting help, but now his drafting help knows that he's not a reliable drafting partner. So in the future, he's lost the trust of the 3 cars on track he was supposed to already have the trust of built in. So I like it as a fan. Want to see these guys go for broke, win it for themselves, be selfish. But from a strategic standpoint, I know he finished 3rd, technically 2nd, but big picture, I don't think it was a wise strategic move.
So you're saying they won't forget it, basically?
Yeah, they won't forget that. We already know that Larson and Elliott don't seem to see eye to eye. They're not going to go out of their way to help each other out. I saw they almost made contact on pit road again this week. And now you throw Byron in there. It just feels like everyone at Hendrick is out for themselves. And, at super speedways, that's not good. We saw how it affected Colleague in the Xfinity race at Atlanta, I think earlier this summer. So, from a strategic perspective, I don't think it was a good idea.
I think so much, especially with the races coming down in this system. One, you're going to learn who really these drivers are. I think you'll learn it every year. Derek, we'll go back to Matt Kenseth again. This is like the Kenseth memories episode here.
He's still relevant.
Well, you go back to Kenseth. I don't think anyone would have thought that Kenseth would be fighting the guy that wrecked him under Yella. And I don't think anyone thought he would do the stuff he did to Logano. You learn who these drivers will be when the chips are down. And I think long term, yes, it is definitely not a smart move. And most often, and this more than likely probably did not work in his favor, but if he rides in line, I think he was the 3rd Hendrick car in line. He's going to be the 3rd Hendrick car in line coming to the finish, because if they're probably not going to pull out to the last minute, and that 3rd guy's kind of screwed. He finished higher than all of his teammates, and you have to make these aggressive moves to get these extra points. I mean, those points that Blaney got from winning this round, if he had made it even off of points, will make a difference after the next 4 races. Same thing with Byron. He won a race, but he can still pad that cushion more and more, and that team can just that much more prepare for Phoenix, which are more than likely going to be in. I like it. It's going to suck for him long term, but if he wins a championship, I don't think he's going to care. He'll have the same amount of championships as Elliott and Larson.
It's just tough because you had 4 Hendrick cars lined up on the inside, and because of their shenanigans, Blaney Harvick beat him. We're able to take control of this race, and guess what? A Ford won, and a Hendrick Chevy did not. So they'll remember that.
I mean, that is a good point too. Yeah, from the fan perspective, it was awesome. Strategy wise, I mean, Chevy might have to give him, have a conversation or two with him, hey, can't do that no more.
And just coming down to it, I gotta say this, as much as I like Bowman and all, he is just consistently the worst when it comes to blocking on super speedways. He cannot do it. He could hold it for only so long. I think specifically, I remember back to I think it was the 2019 Talladega race. He threw the most ridiculous block and end up wrecking him and a lot of other cars in that one. Just going back even to that, there's been other instances, but he is consistent. He's fine as maybe a 2nd place car, but when he's in the lead at Talladega or Daytona, man, he is just consistently inconsistent. That's the word.
Yeah, but hey, Larson's getting better on these super speedways at least. Hey, I'm seeing
Well,
starting to see
He,
some improvement.
he needed to after the race before.
Well,
Yeah.
and really quick, looking at what the chat thought, it says nice percentage liked it, but 70% did say yes, that they liked the move, where 30% said no. It's gonna cost him. Like, I would not be surprised if coming to the line with like 3 to go, he has Chase Elliott behind him or Alex Bowman at the Daytona 500, and
Gets
William
left.
Byron is gonna get ditched. And if he doesn't get ditched, shame on the rest of them. Like, I'm not saying it's a wrong move long term, but I think in the short term, going for a championship, I like the move. But we've seen it before. We've seen teammates, that HMS teammates before. I mean, Jeff and Junior always had issues working with each other. Now that I think of it, I think Junior is just the common denominator of all of his teams at working badly with teammates. So he's not the best person to use in this. But he won a lot of races, and I think William Byron, with that killer instinct, I think he will win a lot of races one day too. So that's on the Chevy side. On the Ford side, these Fords are insane at super speedways.
Mm-hmm. Especially in qualifying, man. And like, I remember the first super, or not the first, but the second super speedway race of the year. Me and Danny had the privilege of covering that. These Fords, man, right from the jump. I mean, what was it, Danny? Like top 8, top 6 were all Fords, and like 3 of them
Like
Penske's.
that.
Yeah,
Coming down to it, you thought it was well, RCR and Chevy was up there in the mix with them too, but it's like, you had the RFK guys and lots of other Fords was up there.
They've been running up front and qualifying up front consistently on these super speedways all year. So it'll be interesting if they can keep that momentum up next year and stuff. But yeah, hey, these Fords, hey, whatever they found, man, just hey, keep bringing it, man.
I mean, let's see. It was Logano at Atlanta won. Buescher won Daytona a few weeks back. Who won the second Atlanta race?
Byron.
Okay, so we'll go. 3 of the 6 super speedways were won by Fords. Not bad. But I think he was clear at Daytona in February. The RFK Fords were the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
If Logano didn't win Atlanta, Brad Keselowski probably was going to in the first time around. So no, Fords are they're really good. I don't know if that they always work necessarily the best together. I think they work well together. Harvick and Blaney worked well together until that last lap to get the lead. But they're just fast, those cars. Maybe, and you might be onto something, Jared, about those noses. They might push better too. That could be something.
Yeah, it's a sort of piggyback off your point, Eric. I think they work good together because they won half of them. But if they worked great, they would have won more than half. I think honestly, like I feel like you can make a case they could have won 5 of the 6 this year if a few things had gone their way and if they worked better together.
Well, and then I think that covers it for personally. I think the racing itself. I think now we gotta get to the playoff grid, and people in the chat will be really happy. I got it ready to go. Here's what we got for the playoffs right now. So it's basically 3rd through 12th. This is the battle. Denny Hamlin is plus 50 in 3rd. Then there is Bell plus 22, Buescher plus 19, Truex plus 17. Then Larson up 15. Brad up is 2 in 8th over Tyler Reddick minus 2 in 9th, Bubba Wallace minus 9 in 10th, then Chastain minus 10 in 11th, and Kyle Busch minus 26. I saw a few reports after the race that were weird that corrected it to 36 at first, but it is 26 from all accounts. Points behind the ticker.
26.
Can I just say, biggest missed opportunity this weekend by far was Bubba Wallace. And I know that him just getting to the round of 12 has been a great story. And it's been a successful season for sure, but Talladega is his best track in this round. He entered, I think, only 2 or 3 points below the cut line. You thought, hey, this is a great chance for him to go to the Roval, perhaps on the positive side of the cut line. And instead they, just played the strategy wrong lane, wrong time, got 0 stage points. And then at the end, I think he hit at the end, and did he take tires or they took extra fuel in case of a green, white checkered and restarted 15th and just couldn't go forward from there. They weren't able to, get that 3rd lane working. So it was just missed opportunity. I really thought he's only minus 9. And if he collected any stage points, he'd potentially be in the positive. So it's just kind of frustrating.
You just really feel like he is going to regret not getting it done at Texas.
Oh, absolutely. And I got to be honest, I had to take a couple of sips of water because like my mouth was so bitter from seeing the minus 26 on Kyle Busch. I was like, oh, yuck. It's like, oh, like Who would have thought that, man? At this point in the playoffs, who would have thought?
He's minus 26, and we're going into the track that he historically rage quitted at.
Yeah, so Kyle Busch fans, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like you better, hope for a miracle and stuff this weekend. You better hope a lot of the playoff driver, pretty much all the playoff drivers, below the cut line except him, have some type of problem.
And at certain points of the year, people had him winning the title.
Yeah. I mean, like I feel like at one point in the year, we all had him as like a championship favorite at one point or another, and now it's like, in the words of Kyle Busch, I just don't know what to do anymore.
So I asked the chat this, but I'm going to add to the question with you guys. And Danny, I'm going to start with you. So I asked the chat which of the bottom four makes it. Of 3rd through 8th, which one makes it, and who do they replace?
Okay, so I agree with most of the chat. I think Tyler Reddick makes it. And if he's going to replace anybody, I feel like it's going to be Brad. I trust Chris Buescher on a road course. Hamlin's fine. I trust Bell. He's won here before. I trust Truex, good on road courses, nearly won here before. Kyle Larson has won here before. Brad Keselowski, while he has had good moments on road courses, with just a 2-point gap, I feel like Brad's the one who goes out.
Yeah, it's the easy answer is Reddick gets in over Brad. Reddick's won 3 road courses in the next gen era, and Brad doesn't have I don't think he has a top 10 on a road course this year. So that's the easy pick. I was gonna say I hope I'm proven wrong. I want both those guys in the playoffs because I really like, I think 23XI and RFK are 2 of the most exciting teams right now. But I think it's tough. I think Reddick will replace Keselowski. That's the easiest pick.
And as long as Brad, is the one who, if he misses, RFK then can go full in on making sure that Buescher has the best stuff for 4 races. Because I still think RFK can get a car into the final 4, and it could be Buescher, could play out for him.
Yeah. So before the round of 12, I had this hot take. Oh, both 23XI cars will make the round of 8. It's looking like that. I mean, like, look, only 2 and 9 points outside the cut line, but I don't know. I feel like only one of them is going to make it now. And that one guy is Tyler Reddick, but the guy I have him replacing, and hey, there's an old saying, men lie, women lie, stats don't, right? Well, this guy's always had some type of trouble in the round of 12. I know he's won here before, but I'm going to say Kyle Larson. Why not? I mean, look, based off the history and stuff, why not? There's always some type of stuff has always happened to him in this particular round. So I'm just gonna base this off the history and stuff. Hey, but you know what? He'll probably, go and prove me wrong and just go dominate and win the race, or maybe I might just jinx him just now. So hey, we'll see.
You're not wrong though, Darian. I mean, yeah, you gotta consider the equipment. He's won here before in Hendrick equipment, but in a Chip Ganassi car, he also came to the line bouncing off the walls because he had such a horrible car and it wrecked it.
Yeah. And look at last year, too.
Yeah, last year he was in position to advance, hit the wall, made a mistake, broke something. It was a toe link and was eliminated from the playoffs, like that. So, I mean, could happen this year, too, no doubt.
Yeah,
so
it's only plus 15. So
I agree with you guys that Reddick Keselowski is the logical answer. But I'm going to say this. We've seen craziness happen in these races. We've seen pretty much anyone make a round when we didn't think they would. I'm going to sound crazy, and I might be giving away not my win pick, but one of my picks. Do not underestimate Bubba Wallace. He's been getting better at the Roval. Each consecutive race, the last 3 races, has been better and better and better finish. He's finished 7th there last year. He is getting better at road courses, and I think it's actually noticeable at this point. If you remember, most of the race, I want to say at Indianapolis, he was running in the top 12 to 10. And that was all green. So, strategy maybe didn't play as much a role. So I wouldn't count him out. But I'll say Ross Chastain just doesn't go away, man. He just does not go away. He always seems to manage in the craziest or the most improbable ways, get ahead of an elimination. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does. And the guy that I am looking at right now, just because this team is not well at the moment, and they might correct it because they are a good team. But Martin Truex Jr., I believe, still has only scored unless I don't know, I have my notes here, might have been different, but I believe he has still only scored 2 stage points in the playoffs. Yes, 2 stage points in the first 5 races of the playoffs. I don't know what it is. They cannot perform well in these races, and I would not be surprised. We've seen weirder things happen in this race. If the guy who was only plus 17 doesn't score any stage points in the first 2 stages, is like plus 4 coming into the last 10 laps, and Roval tomfoolery happens, I would not be surprised.
He is showing how crucial that regular season success is.
Yeah. He very much is. So I'm going to end the poll right now. Looking like 63% are saying they think Reddick will make it in, to Chastain's 13. Kyle Busch has a 12% chance to them over Bubba's 11% chance.
Yeah, you know what's scary to me is like, just obviously he's getting better now, Bubba Wallace, but like just based off of, their whole history and stuff, like, I don't know, I didn't expect Bubba Wallace to be that close to Kyle Busch in this poll, so that says it all about Busch there.
But that pretty much does it for talking about the Cup race in the moment and all of that. We do have a little bit more when it comes to some ratings with it. We alluded to it earlier. I am going to say our trusty chat was a little bit off on this. So we did have, Talladega had 2.505 million viewers on Big NBC this past week. Not good. No
That
bueno.
sucks.
Talladega, yeah.
That
that's
is down
horrible.
12% from last year, which was down double digits from the year before. I went and did the math really quick. 30% decrease in viewership at the same weekend for Talladega since 2018 in a 5-year span.
And what the heck? Taylor Swift's boyfriend didn't even play till that night.
And
Yeah.
and it gets
sorry.
worse. 13% of the Talladega viewership was the key demo.
No.
And it gets worse when you take away, instead of doing 18 to 49, you 18 to 34. It is considerably worse. It is, I believe it is single digits. Not good. Not good.
Yeah, that's not
whatsoever.
good. Especially for Talladega, man. Like these super speedways are supposed to be the sport's bread and butter when it comes to ratings, right? Like obviously you're not going to expect some like major increase, but Dan, there's a certain expectation. And I mean, I'm looking at 12% down from last year, 30% compared to 2018. Yeah, that's a major problem, man. I don't know what it is. I mean, look, it's not like it's the first time they've gone against football games. And, I mean, I saw some people saying like, oh, well, didn't Taylor Swift's boyfriend play during the game and stuff? And it's like, nah, bro. It's like, nah, man. It was later.
Did y'all
at
see
night,
this
so.
comment from Isaac?
No, what did
He
say?
says NASCAR needs to advertise that Josh Berry went to high school with Taylor Swift.
Hey, they're already uploading
Bro.
like her old video clips on the
and
channel.
on that note, if you go to NASCAR's official YouTube channel, so yeah, they snuckily threw in a 2006 or something video of Taylor Swift saying hashtag. That is like by far their most viewed video of the past several weeks.
Dude,
like it's not even
everyone
close.
is finding a way to do it. At the Titans game, they pulled up an old clip of Taylor Swift and Kerry Collins. Taylor Swift was wearing a Titans helmet and uniform, like pumping up Kerry Collins. Like anyone is finding anything they ever did to Taylor Swift all of a sudden.
So
I'm so tired of it.
not to have a much larger ratings discussion because we do this every 3 or 4 weeks and it's really boring and repetitive at this point, in my opinion. But at what point does NASCAR just say, hey, TV numbers don't really matter? We need numbers in other respects. Like we like attendance is up. Like I don't know how do I say this? Like are we getting to a point where maybe the primary way to consume NASCAR races will no longer be television? It'll be Twitter or social media or even YouTube for that matter.
Yeah,
Like it's crazy to think. It's crazy to think, and this isn't supposed to sound braggadocious, but like I did an Out of the Groove episode yesterday or 2 days ago that got 60,000 views. And I don't know if my math is correct. So you said, let's see, 2.5 million viewers.
Mm-hmm.
What is 13% of 2.5 million viewers? How do I calculate that?
We're doing math.
300,000.
Doing some
It's
math.
300,000.
Somewhere around there. I think I don't have the numbers on me, but I think it's like
And that's just
334,000.
And that's just viewers under the age of 50. The majority of my audience is in their 20s and 30s. So you're saying that's probably in the single digits. So about 150,000 people age 20 to 30 watched that race on TV. Like half of those people watched my YouTube video, probably engaged with one of our tweets. Like at what point, like at what point do we just throw in the towel and say, shit, young people aren't watching TV. We may never get them to watch TV.
Gosh,
And do they just like, does social media become the number one way you consume races? And how can advertisers benefit from that? Or
could
make
you
that
imagine
work?
trying to dive into the analytics of like a Mr. Beast video and compare it to NASCAR?
Well, I'm just saying, my point is that a couple, maybe like 100,000 people under the age of 30 years old watched that NASCAR race. Like 100,000. That sounds like a big number.
Yeah.
That's not a big number in the grand scheme of things. And I'm saying half of those people watched my YouTube video from my spare bedroom. They watched your YouTube videos. They read our tweets. They were on Twitter looking at Bob Pockris and Jeff Gluck's tweets and Denny Hamlin's tweets during the week. Like at the end of the day, like a large portion of the young audience is on social media. I guess I'm just like, I can't wrap my head around the fact that 87% of the people that watch Talladega are like older than our parents. Like, that's just crazy. That's a staggering number.
I think I see what you're kind of saying here, Eric. Basically, what you're saying is, kind of us in a sense, NASCAR in a sense. It's like whatever that consistent key demographic is for that age range, we've somehow found it, but it feels like it's hard to get past that level from all sides.
I think the issue too is partly at the fan base itself. I mean, look, we had that big discussion about streaming, and I know we have viewers of varying ages in our chat, but even younger viewers recoil at the thought of going to where people who NASCAR wants are, because NASCAR is stuck in this crossroads, and you see it with a lot of other sports too. It's not just a NASCAR problem, but you see it so many times where they're stuck between that base who's stuck around and that new base, and there is no middle ground anymore. There's nothing. Like at least before, like I was reading that fans were kind of, a little at odds with why are we doing TNT for some of the races in the early 2000s, but there's still that middle ground of like we all watch TV. That's not there anymore. Like I think
that's a good point.
If you're NASCAR, you got to start like in the next contract, work together, maybe do it on. If NBC start a TikTok account and a YouTube, but you have to have it on different platforms at all times. I mean, I don't know if you have to spend some Tesla dollars to get it on Twitter, whatever you got to do, but there has to be some kind of way to get it out to that broader audience without cutting off 87% of the audience.
Yeah,
and that's a big part of it. But I'm also thinking like we need to completely reimagine how these races are packaged, like from everything. Like, do we need a 3-man booth? Do we need to cover every single lap the way we currently do? Obviously, we need to get rid of commercial breaks. That's turning off everybody under the age of 30. Like, do we like the ticker? How we need to. Race View should come back. I think maybe NASCAR Race View is the way people will primarily want to watch NASCAR. I'm thinking radical. I'm just thinking at some point, if you're really, my point is that we are reaching almost every single 30 and under NASCAR fan in existence. And that's kind of a scary thought because we don't have that much power or influence. No. And the fact that we're reaching almost everyone in that target, in that demographic right now is mind-boggling. It tells me that at some point maybe we should get radical with how these races are packaged. And like, what can you sell to advertisers? You're selling them TV commercials right now. You're selling them decals on the car. Like, we got to think radically different than that. Sell them something else. So everything's got to go digital.
I got a radical idea.
Okay.
It's going to have a dumb name, but you'll remember it. The Coco Melon strategy.
Oh,
anyone know about Coco Melon? Like why it's such a big deal for people and why parents and this and that and why like everyone is, there's so many different ideas of it. Here's why. They change the frame every 4 to 6 seconds to keep the attention of children. And you see it with TikTok. You see it now with YouTube Shorts. You can even look at different videos like Mr. Beast. If you watch a Mr. Beast video, the editing has it. Every couple seconds, there is something new and bright on screen, and the retention is amazing, and people get more and more invested in it. NASCAR is a fast sport. That is its strength. And how many static shots do we get in every race? How many times do you see that panning shot of the field coming to the line, then coming into one, coming to the backstretch, then right past you, it's fast? You got to do something different. You have to sell the speed more. These younger people love speed. I love the speed. That's how I got into it. Brake cars, lots of speed. I rewatched the 05 Daytona 500, and I was amazed how many times they switch cameras compared to how they do now. It's insane. That's how you have to do it. Keep people's attention through different psychological reasons, and don't just stay with what worked 10, 15 years ago.
That's all I'm saying is you got to be on TV for now, but look for other avenues to supplement that. But like you're saying, Jarrett, that's what I'm getting at. Is literally the way we package the on-track product should change. If it's different camera angles, Formula One, I think, does a great job with quick camera angles, making every lap feel intense, feel fast. If it's as simple as that, let's start there. Like there's no NASCAR is an older fan base. That's great. That's totally fine. That's awesome that there's so many fans who've been around a long time who are still loyal to the sport. That's fantastic. But the truth is, if this sport is ever going to grow or even sustain itself at the size it is now, it needs to get younger, or young people need to be interested in it as well. And it's failing at that miserably. It's failed at that basically our entire lives, to be quite honest.
And there's so much.
You just got to do something radical. I don't know. Here's what I need to kind of start to wrap this up. We need a Toy Story NASCAR animated race. That's what we need.
But please make it good though.
We had something like that. We had Digger, and then they tried to blame that for the reason people will stop watching NASCAR.
Yes, the ratings.
But I think the point there is that it's a different audience. Like that audience, it's actually the same audience, or saged up. But that audience then viewed it differently than it does now. I think also the announcing too. I thought at the end of the Talladega race, when you pumped the crowd noise in, they were changing all of the camera angles to different ones and really in-depth ones. You had the announcers all in it. NBC had it right at the end. There's got to be a way to emulate that during the race and also still ramp it up at the end. Like, I don't know how you do it. That is, I trust me, I will think of ideas, but it's above my pay grade, but I'm still going to try. But there's got to be those changes. It can't be the same thing over and over and over and over again. I mean, look at I think it was Amazon's football coverage will offer you like different widgets. Like you press a button on your Amazon remote and different stats will come up. Next gen stats will, different things that keep that viewer invested. You got to do different things like that. I don't know how you do it with conventional TV, but figure it out.
With Monday Night Football, you can watch a traditional version of it, or you can go watch the Manning cast and get just their hot takes during it the entire game. I mean, granted, okay, that's kind of a bad example. Dale Jr. is an announcer, but imagine in a less formal environment like Dale Jr. and who's somebody he could do a Manning cast style with?
Taylor Swift's old high school friend, colleague, Josh Berry.
I would like to see him and Tony Stewart in one, but I don't know.
Okay, that's actually pretty fun. You have you have a Tony and Dale Jr. just like hot taking the entire time. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But I wanted to make a point really quick. Eric, I like what you said earlier about like next contract, they should, figure out a way to where they can, stream it, not only broadcast it, but stream it on multiple platforms at the same time. Just thinking about the YouTube side of things. Like, let's say like somebody new's like watching a race, or if they just like tune in for like 5 or 10 minutes, knowing YouTube's algorithm, after that, like once they click off and stuff later on, they're going to be suggested so much NASCAR content too, which includes older races and our videos and stuff. So I feel like that should definitely be an opportunity that they should take advantage of, but you got to have permission from the television partners. So good luck, negotiators.
I'll give NASCAR some credit. Their little meme video they put out to tease the schedule today was kind of funny. And they're on their YouTube channel. Someone shared this with me, I think on Twitter, but the Steve Letarte and I want to say it was Todd Gordon, I think, did like a breakdown of Kevin Harvick's penalty. And that was a real in-depth thing that it's not kind of like you're talking about, Jarrett, those next level stats, not integrated into the broadcast themselves, but it's extra stuff on social media that people our age are more likely to find. And it was great. It was really good. So they're trying. It's just, it's gonna take wholesale radical changes.
But you know where we don't at least fail when it comes to getting people engaged and talking about the race? Our poll.
Yes, sir. And it's time for the poll, the famous Iceberg poll on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
So I have it up on my screen here, and I have it up on my phone, but it's looking like about 15,000 voted on this poll in the last 3 days. And I asked, what'd you think of the 2023 Yellowwood 500? 56% said it was great, or is that 57? It goes back and forth. 56 said it was great. 31 said it was good. So 87% had a net positive about this race. 9% said it was average, and 2 apiece for below average and bad. So 4% net negative. The first comment was from Marshall Griffin. Was it positive, negative, or meme?
I'm going to go with meme.
I'm going to go with positive.
Greatest track on planet Earth is all he left.
Oh, there
Nice.
you go.
Positive.
I was wrong.
So looking at some of these comments here, Isaac says an entertaining race that didn't have to rely on big crashes. Good stuff. Good stuff. Blue, you're blue. Says solid race, no single file train, no messy wrecks, an incredible finish. Just a solid 8 to 9 out of 10. We have Mr. Matthias who says, so proud of Harvick. He ran an outstanding super speedway race. Props to Blaney for racing him clean, and congrats to him on the victory. Let's see. Denny Deliver says, I don't know if it's just me, but I got major Gen 4 vibes watching this race. Certified banger. Let's go a little further down here and see what we got. Eric on here, another Eric says, Blaney, what a finish at Talladega, part 3. We got Silas Tipton who says, my favorite part was when Ty Dillon was in the 54 for a few seconds. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the first time he's done that. I've noticed it before.
That's right. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Forgot about that.
JJA 1987 says best race of the year bar none. Victor E. Lane 77 says Brad Keselowski almost won this race. No, he didn't. Let's see. Noah's Hair says Byron had to help his brother-in-law. LOL. Good race. I liked it. Not a wreck fest. And then let's get to the gutter. We'll get to the gutter and then get to the trucks. So let's see. I can read that
Lower
one.
than the gutter.
Yeah. Maybe we'll rename it the Crafton segment. I'm kidding.
Oh.
We'll get to that in a moment. I think I can read them all. All right. So Rusty's 2105 says, damn, petty ass NASCAR can't even give Harvick a second. Sad. Makes me think if he even won this year, would they find any reason to revoke it? Yes, because they've always had it out for Kevin Harvick. Don says, would have been great if Harvick would have won. And Kirk T says, modern NASCAR sucks. And that is the lowest voted comment in the poll.
Oh, yeah, I wonder why.
So
Rightfully so.
Thank you all for your gutter comments and your great comments alike. We appreciate them all. And we'll put the poll up the rest of the year. People got mad at me because I didn't put it up in the first 15 seconds the race was over. It's like, damn, people.
Y'all can be patient. Come on, we got lives to live too now.
All right, real quick, let's go over this truck race. So Brett Moffitt.
Hold on 1 second. And that'll conclude this edition of The
Correct.
Poll, the famous Iceberg Poll on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And now back to the show. All right, we're good.
I just want to get through the truck race already. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I know.
So Brett Moffitt won in his new front row team, and I can lie, nobody cares. I mean, it's nice and all, and I get to.
well,
no one cares. I'm sorry.
I was like, hey, it was a feel good win because,
okay.
I forgot,
Okay, I will ask this. After the hour mark after the race, did anyone at all remember anything about the truck race except for what happened 30 minutes after the truck race?
No.
There were a lot of crashes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a must-win now for Zane Smith going into Homestead in a month.
Oh,
Which
that crew guy, though. That crew guy.
It's sad but true. It's like
Oh,
Metallica,
yeah,
sad
that's
but
right.
true.
Yeah,
But
that crew guy,
I will
though,
say, that crew guy, man, I don't know how he walks around with those cojones because that was a hit.
Both his legs, they was like sideways in the air, and then he just lands again. Like, damn, he's superhero.
They're interviewing him. I'm half waiting to just hear, "'Tis but a flesh wound."
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm half waiting to hear that. But I just love. Ready to go? Yeah, I'm ready to jump over the wall again. Let's go. I thought I could clear it.
Let's do it.
That dude seems like a vibe. I'm gonna say that. But come on, let's get to the moment that we're all actually wanting to talk about. The Nick Sanchez Matt Crafton fight. So I'm gonna lay it out real quick here. All right, let's lay this out the way that Matt Crafton tried to lay out Nick Sanchez. So
I'm about to say, you better make that joke if you're saying the word laid out.
Even I can get that one after being teed up. So during the race, let's go during the race. There's an incident between the two in the 88 that causes a big crash. Now, I'm not going to be too biased, but I'm totally going to be too biased and say I think it was Matt Crafton's fault, personally. I think he made a late move. I know that he'll probably wait behind a couple tires for the next truck race I go to for saying that, if that's what happened. Again, we're going to talk a bit about that. But it causes a big kerfuffle. He parks it in the 2 pit stall and gets out, which very Kyle Busch move of him. Even though I don't even think Kyle would, in his worst, would really go that far. And this is where it gets muddy. Race ends. Nick Sanchez, from all accounts, is walking back into the garage. And now, Sanchez says he got tapped on the back, turned around, and got a fist to the face, a knuckle sandwich for his efforts. And Matt Crafton basically said, well, he sucker punched me on track. That's kind of the vibe I got from his, I won't even call it an apology. I'll call it like an explanation.
It's a weird Fred.
But he kind of was like, well, he sucker punched me at 200 miles per hour, which after like 3 paragraphs of saying I didn't sucker punch him, but he sucker punched me, and that's why this happened. And a nice little scuffle started up in the garage with a bloodied up Nick Sanchez, who, and I will censor it myself on this one, but I have the full quote here. I'm going to bleeping kill you at Homestead. You bleeped with the wrong guy, mother bleeper. The YouTube overlords I do not want to test.
I think that's the only reason he got fined.
Mother bleeper is such a funny word to me.
Yeah.
Like I hope like we can have more cussing so I can make that meme a thing. I'm gonna be honest with you guys on this one. I want to believe one side or the other, but the way I see it, there's always it's the middle ground every time. Like Nick Sanchez is not gonna say I got the absolute living hell beat out of me. And Matt Crafton is not going to say, well, I totally sucker punched him and tried to kill the kid. I feel like there's a middle ground, and I guarantee nobody is going to want to hear about it. But that's my side of it. I want y'all to run wild with this one. Whoever wants to jump at it, go for it.
Let me go first, because I was the loudest about this on Twitter afterwards about it.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah. Now let's get to it first. Obviously, the whole fight and stuff that happened. At first, I was like, "Damn! Like you're gonna say you're gonna do what to somebody at Homestead, which is in a month, by the way." Thank you for pointing that out again, Eric. We got to wait a whole month for that now. But yeah, so like at first, I was like, "Damn! All this because obviously his face was bloody." But my first thought was, "Oh, okay, they just got into a fight. Maybe he got mad, he got beat up and stuff, and started talking crazy." But then he started saying some stuff, and then his mom started saying some stuff too. And of course, his mom's going to, back her son and stuff like that. But I don't know, just the way the video looked and stuff, I was like, damn, like I thought it was a crew member at first, then it turned out to be Crafton. And, if it was true that he cheap shot at him and stuff, personally, I would have wanted him suspended. But here's the problem, though. With this whole boys have at it stuff, there's no specific rule on like how you do it, right? So like, hey, boys have at it and stuff, that could be shoving, fighting and stuff. It doesn't say anything about, if it was true, sheep shotting. So, I feel like that's the main reason Crafton didn't get suspended for that. But also that statement he put out, that didn't help his case. Like, oh, well, he sucker punched me on the track. It's like, dude, if you're being accused of sucker punching, don't put the word in your little, in your little statement and stuff, So got to run that by the PR lady, or the PR lady needs to read that a little bit better. But anyways, so yeah, look, I feel like, at this point now, I'm sort of where Jared's at now, like I'm pretty sure NASCAR did their homework. And they were like, okay, we can't really, it's one side saying this, one side saying that, because if they did, then there obviously would have been more punishment. But you know what? At the end of the day, find them both, move on, and just mark your calendars for Homestead. What's everyone laughing at?
Laughing at Phoebe's super chat saying that the cameras missed Norm Benning swooping down, beating both of them up, proving that he's Batman. Very funny. Very funny.
Always
visual.
gotta find a Norm Benning meme all the time.
Eric, what do you think?
I don't know. So I disagree. I don't remember what Darian just said. He said something I disagreed with. Something about how if Crafton, how the punishment would have been more severe. $25,000 fine for fighting someone. We haven't seen that in years. Like Kyle Busch socked Logano in the face and got no penalty, so the fact that there was a $25,000 fine for Crafton tells me he probably did sucker punch Sanchez, maybe not quite to the degree that Sanchez and Sanchez's mother made it out to sound, but it sounds like it was more than likely a very cheap shot. And it was also premeditated because Crafton was in street clothes. He'd had like an hour almost to think about it and still chose that course of action, wanted to get physical, wanted to take a shot at Sanchez. Sanchez got a $5,000 fine. That's probably for the yelling, "I'm going to effing kill you." Heat of the moment. I don't make too much of it. Some people really didn't like it. It's not a good look, no doubt about it. That's probably why he got the small fine. But I mean, I've never been punched in the face, but if I did get punched in the face, I don't know what I would say. So I can't hold that against him too bad. Going back to the on-track incident, I don't know that I can't put that all on Crafton. Crafton's following the trucks in front of him. He does leave a very tight lane for Sanchez, and Sanchez, it's late in the race, he fills it. That's his prerogative, but it is an aggressive move. I think 10 years ago, looking at NASCAR, looking at the truck series, 10 years ago, the guy in Sanchez's position probably doesn't try to take that space because he knows Crafton's probably going to come back down. That's not really a new line forming. It's kind of a half line that you're forcing your way into. 10 years ago, Sanchez in that position probably doesn't make that move, but modern NASCAR, you do make that move. Crafton probably wasn't ready for it. So, the instant, I think it's 50-50. I don't think it justified Crafton going onto pit road, parking in front of his stall, and then waiting an hour to beat up or confront Sanchez. I think his reaction, regardless of if there's a sucker punch or not, was over-exaggerated. I don't think was just. If he did, in fact, sucker punch Sanchez the way Sanchez alleges, then the $25,000 fine is good. I would have honestly even gone further because I do think you need to draw a line at some point. I'm okay with squaring up, fighting, shoving, yelling, if both guys are fully engaged. And both Crafton and Sanchez, they're adults. I know some people were like, Crafton's twice his age. Yeah. It's a weird look, but Nick Sanchez is a physically fit 22-year-old. If anything, he should win that fight. You know what I mean?
I was just about to say, bro, they were saying like, oh, he's a 22-year-old kid. Like, no, once you turn 18, you're grown. So
you're 22, you're racing on national TV, you're an adult. You can take care of yourself. Yeah. That's all I have to say about that. I don't know where I was going with it. I'm okay with fights. My point is if it's a fair fight, fights are fine. But if it truly was a cheap shot, the way Sanchez made it out to sound, you can't have that, especially because it broke Sanchez's nose. It appeared like that's just ugly. That's not a good look. I mean, you'd be arrested if you did that on the street or anywhere else. Like you'd be in jail.
Assault.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like NASCAR can't allow that to stand if in fact it was a cheap shot. And the fact that they fined him $25,000, again, they didn't fine Austin Hill for blasting Myatt Snyder, laying him out on his back last year. So that tells me whatever Crafton did, whatever NASCAR found, Crafton crossed the line.
Well, quick question. Do y'all think that was the whole Austin thing? Was that a cheap shot or whatever? I don't know.
No,
like he was standing right in front of him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And yeah. And also too, Austin kept telling him like, bro, get out of my face, get out of my face. And like, once you see a bald fist, like, and if you can't defend yourself, get out the way.
What do you think, Danny?
I'm kind of like Eric a little bit. I think Sanchez was only fined because of what he said. I told these guys I was driving to Knoxville. Claudia let me listen to the clip while I was driving. And I was like, I think I see what he's saying. He's probably saying, I'm going to wreck you at Homestead, but it came out saying, I'm going to off you at Homestead. And he said it not just once, but like 2 or 3 times. And yeah, you can't have a driver going around and say, I'm going to off you at the next race. I think I see why they didn't probably suspend the driver's seater, because they do have so much time in between it. You would hope these guys can be adults and work this out before the next race.
So that I will say that the Sanchez part, this is where I think I disagree with a lot of people. Everyone is making a lot of things like this. Yeah, he's a grown ass man, and if you're a grown ass man, you need to respond better than like a 5-year-old would in that situation. Like that, I think it's immature with your big sponsor's name across your chest that you're bringing into the sport. I didn't like that one going off, and I know, yes, heat of the moment, but still, you're still representing a multi-million, billion, whatever dollar sponsor. I think that definitely is something that needs to be addressed, probably behind closed doors more than anything. Because it is still heat of the moment, yes, but is not something I think we've heard anyone else, even during a fight in person, say. We've heard you hit me under yella when someone's getting the hell beat out of him. We're gonna go back to that one. But at the same time, again, Crafton, if you're that age and with that status in the garage, I think a better example should be put out. I hate listening to all these people being like, well, in our rough and tough generation, I think we don't know who I'm talking about. We all would fight like that. We would. No.
Oh my God.
That's just GPS. You outweigh the guy. You win in every statistical category except probably like physical shape. Which matters, but not in this instance when you're basically punching a guy who has no defenses whatsoever. Like, fight him like a man. That's what I'll say. Fight him like a man.
Yeah, only sorry SOBs is cheap shot. That's all.
Matt Crafton, look at the biggest logo on your truck and ask yourself, what would Paul do?
Paul Menard would just go back to his holler. That's all he'd do.
He'd sternly look at him.
Yeah, he would just look at. Honestly, Paul Menard probably wouldn't have cared anyway.
He'd grow a soul patch in his anger.
Yeah,
you usually get an emotionless face anyway.
Yeah.
You would get a scowl.
He would try and mentally mess you up by smiling at you, because you'd be like, why is Paul smiling at me? Like, Paul never smiles. I didn't know he could do that. But that's my thoughts on it.
But really quick, shout out to Corey Roper for helping break it up. He was right place, right time, I guess.
And props to the guys. I think it was Front Stretch that actually went and talked to him about that, because that could have been swept under the rug that he was doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, tip of the hat to Corey on that one. I like that. But we finally got through Talladega. I swear, I did not mean to lead us on a huge tangent.
I mean, it's one of the biggest races of the year. So.
And a lot happened too.
Not according to the ratings.
Yeah. Walked into that.
So what did we do with the 2024 schedule? We raced another week against everything in football. But before we get to lightning round, everything else, we do have the first Super Chat stage break. So let's get to a lot of these really quickly. Someone just start timing me, and we'll go from there. So NASCARson 2414, I said it right this time, for 5. Hey, NWP guys, are you going to Iowa or Indy in 2024? I'm so excited that so many races are near Wisconsin next summer. Can't wait till it comes. Probably TBA.
I'm gonna try to go to Iowa.
I'd say TBA for now.
I'm gonna try list. We'll see.
I'm penciling that one in for now.
Isaac for Iowa. 2 says it's official. SHR are the Guangdong Tigers of NASCAR.
Yep. Hey, facts only.
Ross Crashstain for 5 says, what's the difference between my Bowman shirt and Alex Bowman himself? My dryer works so the shirt isn't hung out to dry.
Oh, great one.
Nicholas, thank you for becoming a new member to the Iceberg. NASCAR Racing Fan 927 left 2 $5 super chats. First one says, the schedule is messy. Daytona, Atlanta back-to-back to start. Bristol in March. Sonoma in June still. 2 super speedways in the playoffs. 3 in a month and a half. And then continues that with, what tracks would you like to see on the Cup schedule next? My top 5 are Rockingham, Chicagoland, Road America, Montreal, and Milwaukee. Well, I think we all know mine is Chicagoland.
I'd go like Road America, Montreal. I'd like some more ovals, maybe Chicagoland, but it's just tough for that to exist with the street course. If the street course goes away, then for sure Chicagoland should be in there.
Yeah, Chicagoland, definitely.
Yeah, Chicagoland for sure.
Woohoo! You're all on my hype train. Let's go. Hype train to 2025. Hunter Nixon Fishing for the 10 as a Harvick fan at the race Sunday. Ooh. I felt like Corey Taylor, Iowa, the level I was yelling, literally yelling for Harvick to pull it off. Still a sad Harvick fan. Yeah. Spencer, thank you for being a member for 27 months. 3/4 of 2023 is done. 1 quarter to go. Time flies. True that.
It really does.
Yeah. Wow.
Video game sports for 2. Did Jared steal Joey Logano's glasses? Oh, maybe. But
It's a good look. It looks sharp. Looks very sophisticated.
under this hat, I have more natural hair, though.
Sir, I need to hear you say the words short track racing.
Actually, short track racing.
Yeah.
Shorty PGAM says for 5, screamed and cried and died. Ryan freaking Blaney, plus burnout with a bunch of questions, which I love the quote he had. 22nd B-Day was great after. Twin Sis got me 2 Bubba Funko Pops, flawless winner.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, that's right. Blaney had said that Dale Inman told him that the jockey who wins the Kentucky Derby doesn't get out of the car and beat the shit out of the racehorse.
That was a great quote.
I love
That
it.
was a good quote.
I ended up having a good reply to Denny Delivers because he said, well, why did he do one today? And I said, he's mad at today's horse.
No.
Agent Boy Band says for 2, in my opinion, the 24 schedule changes sucks. We'll talk about that soon. Speedway Anywhere for 5, about freaking time. Cup race within 4-hour drive of the Twin Cities in Minnesota. Childress even said it over the PA when I was there. Let's see. I'll read 3 more here. Isaac for 2 says, I wish Kenseth won the 2020 Brickyard 400. I think Eric said the same thing in the chat.
Yeah, Eric does too.
Me too.
CBB for 5 says Harvick and Bowman both missed out on wins this year due to broken backs. Bowman's broke in his sprint car racing. Harvick's by carrying SHR all by
I figured
himself.
that's where I was going.
Yep.
Oh, that's wow.
And Mike Manning for 5. This will be the last one we'll read here. Dover's date should be swapped with either Gateways or Sonoma's. I live in Maryland and can say that the Mid-Atlantic region is notorious for rain in late April. We will talk about the schedule, I promise. But there is one other thing we must talk about before the schedule.
Yes, sir. It is time for the lightning round, the famous lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Jarrett, what do we have on the list this evening?
First off, looks like Danny was the one that got struck this week. So my condolences, Danny. Now, real quick for the Spotify audience, I apologize. Spotify wouldn't let me put up a poll this week. I don't know why. It just would not. So we do not have a poll from the Spotify crowd this week. As soon as it lets me do it again, I will put it up.
Yeah, they're hating on us. I don't know why, but
let's see. That one was put in before the schedule. Can't read that. Okay, here's one I saw. Shout out to the Shrimp Hours crew for this one. They pointed this out, and I went back, and it's crazy to look at. But if you look at the Xfinity cars, the numbers have slowly through the season been moved forwards for sponsor space, and no one has really noticed. It's almost like NASCAR should have done this all along.
Interesting.
So shout out to the guys at Shrimp Hours. That was a really cool catch on their part.
Now I'm literally gonna go look at like beginning of the season versus now. I gotta see
It's just minuscule on some, especially in some of the like mid to back the pack cars. But like you can't miss it once you see it.
Okay.
AM Racing is making a major announcement. Did they make that announcement today or not yet?
I didn't hear. I didn't see
tomorrow.
Okay,
tomorrow. Okay, so they're making it tomorrow. The initial reports for Wednesday, now for Thursday. Harrison Burton will return to the Wood Brothers for another year in 2024. Carson Hocevar will be in the 42 the rest of this season past the Roval. And I'm betting money Danny put this one in. WWE superstar Liv Morgan will give the command to start engines at the Roval. And
yes,
Kurt Busch,
that's Darian's girl right there.
Yes,
Kurt Busch will wave the green flag, and that's the one I'm excited about. But short lightning round this week.
Flash flood.
Yep, Liv Morgan is one of the few girls I will simp for. And that'll conclude this edition of the famous lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And now, back to the show. What's so funny, Dan?
Nothing.
He's just laughing at the responses to what we're going to talk about next. The
Oh.
schedules. So Guys, I think you guys said you guys all have the images for the schedules ready to go. Let's look at these things. So I got all 3 of the schedules ready to go in here if I can find them. I lose so much stuff in here. Here we go. So let's start out with the Cup schedule. This is what we got. Yes, we have graphics in the second half of the show outside of just the race preview. How about that?
Nice.
So looking right now at the schedule starting out, the first big change I think we can talk about is Atlanta is the second straight super speedway race to start the season. I know how we're going to feel about that, but I'm still going to ask.
Well, I'm curious. How do you feel about this, Jarrett? Because I from a fan perspective, I like how now all the super speedway races are sort of spaced out evenly between each other. I think that's nice. But from a TV perspective, the Daytona 500 gets your biggest ratings, your biggest viewership. You hook those casual fans in, for week 1. A lot of them turn in for week 2 typically, and now you're going to give them, kind of more of what they came for. Like Atlanta is going to be just as action packed. It's going to look like Daytona, but with another big packed crowd. Like from a ratings perspective, you might actually get some of those fans to stick around longer at the beginning of the year than you do currently. So I wonder, like, what's your take on it?
So the racing fan in me hates this, like just absolutely hates it, because I hate getting all of these super speedways, and we can look at it at the rest of the schedule here. They're all clumped together. I mean, they're just all clumped together at different parts. Yeah. I hate that. The ratings part of me, I have a feeling that start of next year will be better than this year. I just don't know how long that's going to last with how the schedule's laid out because of some changes we'll have after that. So ratings wise, probably will be a hit. But fan wise, God, I don't like it to start the year out. But it'll definitely make the points battles more interesting going into the later into the season. So I'll say that part. All right, so I don't want to kind of half and half this part of the schedule, and say half of it I hate, half I like. But at the moment, that's kind of how I feel about the first part of it. Yeah.
All right, I'll give it a shot. When I first heard it, I was like, okay. When you really think about it, and Eric, you basically took my main point away. And
I'm sorry.
And yeah, no. I mean, hey, you're right. You're just speaking facts, man. You're absolutely right. So, I think it'll be, obviously it'll be great, for the sport to be exposed to newer people and stuff, because like Eric said, some of the people will watch the next week and, this is what they're going to, expect. And they're going to, NASCAR is going to give it to them. So, it's going to be really cold though. I mean, it was really cold in March, but I mean, when it was where it was on the schedule, but it's going to be even colder now. But hey, look, NASCAR's been going down this entertainment over, whatever for a while now. So while I didn't really like it at first, I do understand to an extent why they're putting it on there. But overall, it doesn't really surprise me that there's 2 super speedways to open up the season.
Atlanta can be hit or miss. And my wife pointed this out to me. Yeah, this past year was honestly one of the coldest races I had ever been to in my entire life. Darian knows, he was there with us. But also back in 2018, the first time we ever went to Atlanta Motor Speedway, we were there in just a hoodie and shorts because it was actually pretty warm. And that race was in February. It was actually the second race of the year back then. And so I don't know, weather-wise, it's a big risk. There's a chance it could be warm. There's a chance it could be cold down there in Atlanta. So just have to kind of see what happens on that one. But from the team perspective, that they hate knowing that basically there's a chance I could probably go crash something at the Coliseum. I could maybe crash something at the Duel. I could crash something in the Daytona 500. I could crash something in Atlanta. There's so many races right off the back where they're thinking, get a bunch of cars built because we could very well crash. And like Jarrett said, there are so many runs of super speedways clumped together. We have 2 right off the back. And then later in the year, I counted a run where there's 3 super speedways within 7 races.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll get to that in a moment, but I want to go off your point about weather because you brought this up about the first Bristol race. That is race 5 on March 17th. And I'm going to kind of clump these 2 points together. Richmond, a Sunday night Richmond race, is Easter's race this year. I personally think they should have kept it at Bristol if they're going to have, it be at the start of the year. I feel like you're going to be stuck in that range where it rains in Tennessee this time of year so bad.
Yeah.
You might as well go for the big ratings win with Concrete Bristol, even if it doesn't look great, because I don't personally think it's going to look all that great on TV for a Richmond race either. You might as well go for the Bristol name. That's at least what I think on it.
Do you think it's because they just didn't want 2 Bristol night races?
I probably.
That could
Yeah,
be
I
the
think
reason.
yeah, that could be. Yeah.
I just, we can give our full thoughts in a moment. But I want to see if you guys agree. I just feel like the schedule just got hodgepodge together last minute. We talked about it for the show, and I think we kind of have the same sentiment here. It really feels like Montreal probably fell through. I have a feeling maybe 1 or 2 more dates that they wanted, maybe around or having to do with, or even not even having to do with Montreal. I feel like a couple things had to go on. I don't see how one race falling through screwed up the schedule as bad as I think a lot of us are seeing it as.
Well, it was also like Auto Club being gone this year for good. That complicates it a little as well. And, they probably don't want to keep spending the money for Bristol Dirt. So bringing normal Bristol back, but now you've got North Wilkesboro in your back pocket. Like, I think they just have more options this year than ever before. And like, they couldn't decide what to do with Indy for the longest time. All right, we're going back to the Oval. Couldn't decide what to do with Charlotte. They're apparently opting to stick with the Roval for another year. I just, the Clash of the Coliseum, was that even going to be back? That wasn't confirmed until a few weeks ago. So it's like they just have, there were a lot of things, I think, but Montreal was probably the biggest one because NASCAR really wants that international expansion. They want to build off the momentum of Garage 56, of the Chicago street race, and Montreal would have been the perfect way to do it. And they just couldn't get a deal done. And so then, we'll talk about it in a minute. Iowa, I think, was thrown in there. I hate to say haphazardly because it's going to be a great event, I believe, and it's genius that they're making it work the way they are. But it was thrown together last minute because it was a NASCAR-owned track in an untapped market. So it was kind of just like, oh, yeah, pencil that in.
Think of this though. What was there that could have been easily done because they're owned by the same people? Swap Atlanta and Sonoma. Sonoma would have been perfect to be in the West Coast swing.
That's what I wanted.
Now there's only 2 races in the West Coast swing. You could have still stuck it out there, got the finally green hills of Sonoma, and then Atlanta would fall in perfect because then it would go Darlington, North Wilkesboro, Charlotte, Gateway, and Atlanta. Still a bunch of races kind of in the Southeast.
And I mean, if you put Sonoma like in the West Coast swing area, obviously there'd be some type of risk with the weather and stuff, because obviously, for it to be green, it has to rain a lot, right? And stuff. So, and the weather has to be either good or it's raining a lot. So there'd be a risk there. But I mean, you already have Bristol in March. So I don't know. And I figured, why not just put it there,
Well, and even if you didn't do that for ratings, like, and all that, still switching the dates around, like that second date was a ISC date, and now is an SMI date, and they switched around. Well, now you have Atlanta all the way in the start of September. Why not put Atlanta as your big race on Father's Day that they're having Iowa at, if you wanted it to just solely for ratings, and go to Daytona Road Course, which has had routinely some of the biggest viewership on all of TV, not only for road courses, but just for all tracks. Yeah, yes, I get it would take long, but you could bill it as speed weeks. It'd be a under the knife kind of version of speed weeks. But I don't know. This part of the schedule to start and then even that middle,
If I could make any changes to this first half here, I would say the Atlanta spring date, make that Sonoma. The Bristol spring date, try Atlanta there. I would want Bristol where Gateway is, and I would move Gateway down a week to where Sonoma currently is. That's that. If I could change, it's literally only 4 weekends I'm rotating around.
Surprisingly, the biggest part that irks me about the first half of the schedule, it's not the 2 super speedway races in a row. And surprisingly, it's not even Bristol still being in March or Sonoma not being in the West Coast swing. It's just the fact that your Easter Day race is Richmond. Like, just of all the tracks, of all the options you maybe could have chose chose from, you chose Richmond. And Richmond's not like a terrible track, but geez, like when was the last memorable race that's happened there?
Maybe they're thinking of it like this. Hey, what can you do on Easter night? There's
Yeah.
Richmond.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if Richmond does get a ratings increase just based off of the
what
date.
else are you gonna do? What is there to complain about? It's the only,
Yeah.
thing on.
Well, so
Yeah.
we got this part of the schedule. The first half, for the most part, we talked about Texas already. We talked about really Iowa already. This is one change I'll say I like. It's a minor change, only a few weeks, but weather-wise, it works out better. New Hampshire to June 23rd, putting New Hampshire back in June instead of July. I was looking at some of the trends, and trending-wise, going Larry Mack, based on the trends, statistically, it is more likely to rain in July than in late June for New Hampshire.
Maybe we won't get that monsoon I was in.
So, yeah, that's like knock on wood. I want to say I do like that, and I do think that New Hampshire is not as bad a track as many like to say it is.
No, it's not that bad.
So I think it fits in pretty well between kind of Iowa and Nashville. It's going to be a lot of driving for the teams. You got Nashville moving back into the afternoon. Now, they announced it in the afternoon last year before nighttime, so maybe they'll change it. I'm hoping that's the case. You got Chicago.
Well, even further into June, it gets darker way later than I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so you got Nashville into Chicago Street, 2 NBC races. Pocono, which this past year, I believe, had 2.8 million viewers and was like really, really well watched on USA. Good move there into the Brickyard. Got the Olympic break for 2 weeks. We've talked about that. Go to Richmond, Michigan. Now the next big change, and I think this is just a circumstance of dates, is Daytona is no longer the regular season finale, but instead the penultimate race of the regular season.
You know what? I'm just gonna say this. I don't like coming back from the Olympic break with Richmond for the same reason that I didn't, not feeling crazy about it for Easter. And I'm thinking, hey, if Daytona is not your last race of the year, why are we not coming back and saying, here's Daytona? Yeah.
Well, you know what? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So I was thinking, so my big change in the middle of the section of the schedule would have been to swap that Richmond and Indianapolis so that you'd have the 2 weeks where all of America is watching NBC to watch the Olympics. They could promote the return of the Brickyard. The average person recognizes Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They'll recognize NASCAR. Oh, it's the return. It's an anniversary. You could really mark that as your big event back from the Olympic break. Instead, you open with you do Indy and then the Olympics. That just, you're not taking advantage of that 2 week Olympics.
Vice versa. It feels like Indy's going to get distracted and say, watch the Olympics on NBC.
Yeah.
Like the Brickyard becomes a vehicle for the Olympics rather than the Olympics becoming a opportunity for the Brickyard, which maybe that's what NBC wants, but it's not what I want. So I'm mad.
Yeah, same.
And this is going to be the issue, especially if NBC comes back, is every 4 years, you're basically just going to be used as a tool for the Olympics or moved around for it. And that's, again, I hate that, because I believe that IndyCar has the same thing. And I want to say F1 has a break around them. So basically all major motorsports, like the 3 major motorsports in America, plus probably some other entities too, a lot of motorsports just goes on a complete halt. Any momentum you have is halted for 2 weeks. It's rough. But Darlington, the Southern 500, goes from being, well, it's just the playoff 500 to, well, it's just the playoff cut line 500. September 1st, which I believe next year the race will be in August because September 1st will be Labor Day.
Hey,
interesting.
Not being in the playoffs, can that be a throwback race again?
What?
I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it either.
But they probably don't want it to be for new viewers.
No, just May 12th should be the throwback race because otherwise there's no point having 2 Darlingtons.
Oh, yeah, and also too, it's the regular season finale. I just realized that.
So
remember that again.
We got that, and then the last big change, because the last 7 races are the same. The last major change we have to the schedule is these first. I'd say okay. So the last 6 races I want to say didn't change. We got the first round and then the first race of round of 12, because I believe Kansas at the moment is in the first round. So we got Atlanta leading off the playoff super speedway, Watkins Glen road course, and then Bristol night race, then leading into Kansas round of 12.
Mm-hmm.
So
the wild round.
Yeah.
I said my piece a while ago about the 2 super speedways. I'm going to say the Watkins Glen one is the one I don't like. because you have something. You have a great weekend right now with Watkins Glen, how it's set up as it is. You have no other competition around it locally or really on TV. The racing's good for the most part. If you can bring in eyes, they will watch Watkins Glen. And now you move it to, I believe, if not week 1, week 2 of the football season in a very saturated New York market. And I don't like messing with things that I don't think are broken.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. I do think it being a playoff race will, the hardcore fan will be interested. Like, oh, we've been going to Watkins Glen forever, but now it is in the playoffs. It's interesting. I don't know that it'll hurt it too bad, but I do agree with your premise. It works. It sells tickets. People are interested in Watkins Glen. They look forward to Watkins Glen. To move it out of its typical month is a risk.
Yeah. That's one thing. And yeah, and you made a great point about that. I'm going to talk about the super speedway. Now, if you want to put 2 super speedways in the playoffs, okay, you know what? NASCAR doing the whole entertainment thing. All right, be my guest. Go for it. But I don't know, like Atlanta opening the playoffs, like, dude, if you're going to go all the way entertainment wise, why not do Daytona? Just do it. Let's do Daytona. Let's open up the playoffs with Daytona, man. Like, like if you're going to have 2 super speedways, why not just put Daytona in there? It's like, it's well known outside of motorsports. You can advertise like, hey, the NASCAR playoffs are opening at Daytona, not the regular season finale. That seems like a missed opportunity to me. But yeah, to your earlier point though, while Watkins Glen, it does sound intriguing. What is that?
I don't know what he's doing.
Finish your point, Darian.
What is that? I don't know what that means.
Finish your point. I'll say what I'm saying.
Okay. So basically, like in conclusion, like, yeah, Watkins Glen does seem like, like it would work out in the playoffs, but yeah, it's also very, very risky indeed. All right. What were you talking about, Danny?
I just started counting things up and I'm holding 7 fingers up. The reason I'm holding 7 fingers up is because that is exactly how many tracks in the playoffs the NASCAR's most popular driver has won at in the past.
Oh, you're saying Atlanta's in there because of Chase Elliott?
Reckless speculation.
I'm saying if you get Chase Elliott in his prime, this whole playoff run is good for him.
Damn, NASCAR setting it up like Chase, boy. Hey, comeback season next year. Hey, if he wins the championship, don't be shocked. You heard it here first.
That's interesting.
Think of this. He has won Atlanta, won Watkins Glen, nearly won Bristol. He's won Kansas before. He's won Talladega. He's won the Roval. He's won at Martinsville. He's won at Phoenix.
Hey, NASCAR, they're setting up the script. They're like, hey, Chase, look, you were out this year, but hey, we got you next year, though. Don't worry.
He's got to make it first.
They're gonna make. Oh, he'll make it. He'll make it. No problem. He'll make it. I hope. But
it is interesting, though. That really is.
Yeah.
I was just sitting here and I was like, oh my god, they got seven tracks he's won it before.
Like 8.
Whenever I see 7 fingers, up, I always think of that movie, The 7 Deadly Sins or whatever. That is the craziest movie.
I was just impressed.
And like, Danny, really, if you want to count his All-Star race, he has won 8 of these tracks.
Oh, there you go.
8. That was a great setup, though. I like that.
Yeah, that was great.
I think all of us
held it there for a long time. The chat was even going like, "What is he doing?"
See,
I was like, Darian, just finish your point already.
Well, no, see, at first I thought it was like, oh, is he keeping a counter on me? Am I going too long? Like, I thought we fixed that. I'm sorry.
So that's the Cup schedule. The only other real major change, though, kind of going back on track here, is Phoenix will be November 10th. That's a championship race. If they're gonna have Richmond in there, I think the original plan they talked about was having Richmond right before the Olympic break. I would just do the doubleheader, bite the bullet, keep that season compacted, longer off season, so the teams can have another week to complain about not getting weeks off.
I knew you were going to say.
Just go with that. So that's the Cup schedule, guys. Is there anything else we have to say about the Cup schedule? Is there anyone else who is Danny? I want to ask you: is there anyone else who has won at a lot of these playoff tracks? Like, how many has Kyle Larson won at?
I mean, yeah, we could really go through this. That's just immediately thought to my mind. NASCAR's most popular driver is really good for this whole run.
Yeah.
What's the point?
But what's that mean? How many tracks he's won at?
For actually almost 500 live viewers that we have, they need to lick that like button.
Nice, I like that. I like
Lick the
that.
like button. But yeah, look, NASCAR schedule is out. I do feel like to some extent, like there were like some tracks that fell out last minute and stuff. So like they kind of sort of scrambled something together and stuff. Not all the way, but for some of the tracks, I don't know. It feels that way. It feels that way to me.
We do have. We'll go through this part more quickly because it really follows the Cup schedule, and I don't think being redundant is too fun on this. But we'll really quick look at Xfinity and trucks. The Xfinity schedule largely mirrors the Cup schedule. We're going back to Portland again.
Cool.
Iowa, they're jumping up with. Is there really anything that jumps out at any of you for? And purple and black. That was not a good choice when it. I know it's the colors, but that was not a good choice when it came to a graphic.
Really? I think it looks good.
I'm looking at it from a distance on my phone, and it takes me a minute to see like how it looks on there. But there's
Talladega playoff race is kind of fun.
That's the big one.
Great. Yes.
Well, and something I did notice about about the schedule is I believe there's both Talladega races are on Big Fox and NBC. So there's 1, 2, 3. Let's see. 4. I think 5, 6 races on Big Fox or NBC for Xfinity. So for you Xfinity fans, ending out the year, the final year on non-CW channels, you will be able to watch your races.
And also Iowa's back.
Well, yeah, but that's back with the Cup schedule too.
Yeah.
And then we have the truck schedule really quick, which I believe this one has 1 or 2 races on Big Fox. No, there's just 1 this year.
Are the races more compacted or are they separated by 2-3 months?
Looking at that right now, and it's looking like there is a month between the Indy Lucas Oil race and the regular season finale, but that kind of mirrors the Olympic break.
Okay. All right. That ain't bad then.
Outside of that, there's a month between Gateway and Nashville, but that was about how it normally was. I do think they probably could add Iowa if they wanted to, but it's not as egregious.
It's not that bad. Yeah, it's not that bad. Okay. They're getting a little better.
And then, Darian, do you have the IndyCar schedule? How does Milwaukee Mile line up with IndyCar? Is it the next week or the week before? I think it's the week before.
I can pull it up really quick. IndyCar 2024.
I believe it's the week before, but it's a Sunday.
All
again.
right.
The only thing I think I've noticed that a lot of people might not have pointed out is there's no Mid-Ohio.
Yeah.
And,
let's see. Scrolling all the way down. So the Milwaukee weekend, it's a doubleheader. So August 31st and September 1st.
And then August 25th is the Truck Series playoff opener at Milwaukee on a Sunday, just like they did this past year. So
yeah, that's a decent lead-in.
Yeah, not too many major changes whatsoever. Ross Crash Dane brings up a good point about the Cup schedule. Regular season finale on USA Network instead of big NBC. So.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the Southern 500. Come on.
Yeah.
The new contract, I hope they elevate that race because the crowd and atmosphere seems to fit a crown jewel. The coverage does not.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that we have about the schedule? Is there anything else that this chat has? Speak now.
Well, thank you, NASCAR. Everyone can finally start planning accordingly now. So thank you.
Yeah, I posed this question on Twitter, and I just have to ask: are they still having Champions Week in Nashville, or at all? we're almost at the end of the season. Nothing has been said on this.
Yeah, watch them. They're just gonna have a Zoom banquet. Like, nah, just everyone stay home.
I'm going to end the poll right now that I've let go for 22 minutes. And the results are 61% of fans like the schedule for next year. The Cup schedule, that is. 19% dislike it. 15% absolutely love it. So 76% are very positive on this. 3% absolutely hate it. That is 22% negative on it. So it's generally positive, but I mean, our crowd is pretty positive about just like I admire our viewers' positivity. That is why they're some of the best viewers. That's why they put up with us.
Yeah, for real.
But I think that, guys, that about covers it. I think at this point all we got left is the Roval.
Yep, the Roval. Yeah.
So let's get into the Roval weekend. Couple weekend notes to talk about. Austin Hill is back in the Beard Cup car, 62 car. So a 37 car field for the Roval and Cup. 42 cars are showing up for Xfinity with Boris Said in the number 17 for Hendrick Motorsports, what is probably going to be his final race based on the sound of it. Man, I hope Boris does well. I love Boris.
At least he's going out in a good car.
Hey guys, did you hear what Boris said?
Darian, for that,
Got him.
I'm muting you for that.
Oh my gosh, he got put in timeout.
I put him in the shadow realm for that one.
Whoa!
All right, you get it.
Danny, remind me never to get on Jarrett's bad side. He can mute me. Whoa!
That's the thing. I can mute him, and then I have to ask him to unmute himself.
Darren, you are not ready to be doing these dad jokes like that.
There we go. I'm not ready. Yeah.
Anyway,
you're right.
Anyway, let's get to the weekend. First off, we'll go with the Xfinity race, the Drive for the Cure 250, presented by Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. Tongue twister. 67 laps in that one. 20, 20, and 27 are the stages, starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time on Big NBC and PRN. It's going to be 73. A few morning showers, 62% chance of that, but then partly sunny for most of the day. Defending winner of this race will not win this weekend, I believe, AJ Allmendinger, because I don't think he's racing in this one, is he?
No, they got Jordan Taylor.
All right. Ooh. And then we got the Cup race, the Bank of America Roval 400, not the final one, which say what we will about that. I'll probably put that up as a poll throughout the end super chats on it. But 109 laps, 25, 25, and 59, at least is what I saw on the NASCAR website. Seems oddly short for the first stages, but chaos, as we all say, will reign supreme. Starting at 2 p.m. Eastern time on NBC and PRN. Defending winner of this race is Christopher Bell. I will tell you now, the weather for Sunday is 65 degrees, going to be pretty cool, partly sunny, only an 8% chance of rain, but we're looking good for the Roval weekend at the moment.
It's been cold all over the place.
Yeah. Now, Darian, who do we got this weekend that I can start betting on? Who's going to get me some money this weekend?
Well, the one thing we can't bet on anymore, that this is for sure going to be the last Roval race. Got one more year. But anyways, the favorites for this weekend are as followed. Chase Elliott is plus 600. Non-playoff guy being the favorite. But hey, we know his history there. William Byron, his teammate, is at plus 650. Tyler Reddick at plus 700. And rounding out the favorites, both Michael McDowell and Kyle Larson entered this weekend at plus 900. Best of the rest, AJ Allmendinger plus 1,000. Martin Truex Jr., 1,200. Kyle Busch, 1,500. Denny Hamlin, 1,800. And Ty Gibbs, 2,000. As for the underdogs, and again, this is just based on where they are in the odds and stuff. So if you see a couple of drivers are like, hey, he's not an underdog, according to the odds, he is. Chris Buescher, plus 2,200, followed by Ryan Blaney at 2,800. Chase Briscoe, 4,500. Eric Jones, 6,500. And tied with him to round out the underdog segment is Brad Keselowski, also at plus 6,500. Now, really quick, the NWP Fantasy League, it's getting down to it. It's basically crunch time. And Sean 48NY has built a sizable gap over Trevor Sports 98, the defending league champion. The NASCAR Bears in third, Denny Delivers fourth, and rounding out the top five, just barely hanging on in there, is Black Flags Matter. As for the second league, it's a lot closer. Less than 30 points are separating the field. Are separating 1 and 2. I wish it was the whole field. That would have been crazy. Vroom HMS is P1, 42 Larson 5, P2, JC underscore 43, P3, BFM P4, and rounding out the top 5 is Race Roar 48. Now for the segment we all love, or at least most of us love, the pick points.
Yes, and by the way, letting the chat know who's asking for Bell. Blame Vegas, not us. Looking at the pick points at the moment. Let me get all this stuff off the screen so we can put this up. Eric was happy because he is only 15 behind the chat right now with 528 points. Eric 15 back, of course. Darian minus 46, firmly in third ahead of me now. I'm minus 49, and Danny pulling up the rear minus 76. 76 Racing Fuel behind.
I'm tanking for the number 1 draft pick.
He's what is it? He's collapsing for Caleb. That's what you're doing. So minus 76 at the moment, but Eric is closing in and is well within striking distance heading into the Roval weekend.
Creep it.
Jared, did I pick Zane Smith last week to win the truck race?
I don't.
I didn't know if you had it in front of you. I thought I
picked-
did, but maybe I didn't.
You picked Blaney to win the Cup race.
That I know I got right, but I thought I might have picked Zane, and he finished dead last on Saturday. I was panicking, but Blaney, big man.
And well, let's not leave these guys waiting any longer. We need to get into the picks for this Xfinity winner, Cup Suck pick, Dark Horse, and of course the Cup winner. And Eric, lead us off. How are you going to answer again to the chat? Picks.
Is Noah saying in the chat we both picked Zane? Okay, then that explains why I didn't lose any points on Saturday. Thank heavens.
There you go.
Sorry. So Xfinity race, Roval. I'm gonna go. I feel like this is a safer pick. I wanted to go out on a limb. I really wanted to go with Boris Said. I'm not even kidding. I really did. But he's a chump. No, I'm kidding. I'm gonna go.
Get that.
I'm gonna go with Cole Custer.
I guess. All right. Well, this guy's won on multiple road courses this year. In fact, his only wins are on a road course this year. I'm going to go with Sam Mayer.
Good pick. Good pick. I am going to go with a guy who has led a ton of laps, has not gotten the lucky victories, but I feel like he and this team are in a good spot. I think they're going to be really good in this race. And I'm going to go with Justin Allgaier on this one. I think this is his time.
I'm going.
I'm gonna go with a completely original pick. No one thought to do this one at all. Cole Custer. Yeah, I'm riding with Eric.
And I'm not going to lie. I know there were some 48s and 20s, but it's looking like the majority is double zeros for Cole Custer in the chat. By the way, chat, if we find you all basically doing the same picks as Eric each week, we will do what we did last year to keep it even. And we're probably going to do that next year.
Can we maybe pull the chat? Because I do feel like there's a good amount of Kligermans. I mean,
Give it a
I'm
shot.
staying
Cup
away with double
suck.
zero.
I mean, I'll do it, but I'm pretty sure it's double zero.
I'm starting to see some 40. I think double zero will still win out though, but it is a lot. Yeah, it's getting a lot closer.
I'm just saying it's a pretty diverse chat, so it's hard for me to.
It'll be a landslide for Kligerman for sure.
I'm just saying, and since we started talking about it, I've seen probably 50-50 Kligermans and Custers. So I'm just saying, I don't think it's a runaway.
Let's pull it up then.
Okay.
And while we do that, let's get to the Cup suck picks. Who's going to suck this weekend?
Brad Keselowski. We talked about earlier. I had him. I think he falls out of the top 12 or no, top 8 this week.
I don't care what his track record is in Xfinity, in Cup this year, especially on the road courses. He is disappointed based on the expectations and based on his past history of road racing, of road course experience. AJ Allmendinger is once again going to underperform again.
Damn.
I'm with you too. I'm going to be going Brad Keselowski.
I'm sorry. Before I go, are y'all saying this? You're actually going to Kligerman.
Oh, good on them.
It looked 50-50. I thought it'd be close.
It's more 58-42 right now. So good call on that, Eric.
Yeah, good call.
But I'm going with Kyle Busch. He's coming in bad. He's not going to come out good.
And I'm thinking it's Bubba Wallace as their pick for who's going to suck.
Bubba.
I'm on the poll because Kligerman's actually gaining ground now.
All right, chat. Kligerman.
Okay, that'll be a good battle.
I did not expect that to happen. I definitely thought I saw way more Cole Custer support.
It was at first, but I think they want to try and pull away from Eric. I like the aggression, chat. I like it.
Nice.
I respect it. I respect you, chat.
So who's going to be the dark horse that we respect this weekend, Eric?
I had it and I lost it. Oh, Ty Gibbs. I usually try to pick a playoff guy, but I'm gonna go with a non-playoff guy. We'll go Ty Gibbs for this one.
Yep. Just like I picked Bubba Wallace for Kansas to be an underdog based on the playoff standings. Jarrett won't let me forget that. I think Kyle Busch is a perfect underdog. He has nothing to lose. We're all expecting him to miss the playoffs, I feel like, or everyone except Dalton Good, I feel like at this point. But yeah, Kyle Busch, I'm gonna go with him as my underdog. It's either win or go home.
Right now they have probably Busch has probably better chance at making the next round of the playoffs than his Panthers do at making the playoffs. Sorry. There's
Mm.
very
Panthers
few teams I
garbage.
can talk trash to right now, and this is one of them.
Garbage.
But I'm telling you what, man. I'm telling you what. He probably is going to prove me wrong because every time I pick positively about this guy, he proves me wrong. But Bubba Wallace is not as trash at road courses as people think. He's going to be the dark horse. I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he'll be top 5. But I could see an 8th place run from Bubba Wallace and some stage points and being right in the mix at the end of this race.
It's fair.
Yeah.
And this is probably the only chance I actually can do this. But at this point, it's been over a year since he's won a race, and he's not in the playoffs. So Chase Elliott is actually my underdog, that this could be his best chance to snap his winless streak.
And I think the chat's choosing McDowell Supremacy as their underdog pick. I saw some Bushers. I'm sorry. I'm just going to make a unilateral decision for you and probably for your own good. Busher at a road course is not an underdog. Yeah, and you can say McDowell isn't either, but stage racing and McDowell at road courses makes him an underdog. It puts him at a disadvantage. So I'm going to
I just picked freaking Chase Elliott, but it's just because of what this year is.
Hey, chat, be careful now. I don't know if you want to pick. All right, go ahead. Do whatever.
All right. But that leaves one more.
Wait,
Yes,
why are they all
sir.
saying 23? You already picked him to suck.
That sucks for them.
Yeah. All right. And now, time for the main event. Who's going to win? Who's going to win at the Charlotte Roval? Eric?
William Byron.
Yeah. another big hat victory, huh?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
hat grows stronger.
Well, I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick.
Maybe this time it'll work for me. It's worked every other time I've picked him here. We're going Mr. Popular on him. He might have 7 tracks he's won at in the playoffs as of next year. I think he's good in that first win of this year. Chase Elliott. I'm picking Chase. Even last year, I looked back. Did not run a bad race. Just bad things happen. I'm going with Chase.
Maybe I should have swapped who I had from underdog to win, but I'm actually going McDowell Supremacy. I'm saying he can get a second win. Even though he's not in the playoffs, I think he can spoil the party here.
Yeah.
And guys, we have a very torn chat. There are 5s, 24s, 9s, and 45s. Would you say?
So put those 4 in a poll.
The
then?
45s aren't as much. It's the I think it's a Hendrick poll, guys.
There's 3 for 77. I saw it.
Yeah, Hendrick poll probably.
I am not adding Ty Dillon in because I don't want people thinking I'll rig a
4.
poll.
There's 4.
Oh, we rigged it.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't want people accusing
They're coming
me
in like crazy now.
of rigging
Yeah.
a poll I have no control over. So I think it's 5, 9, and 24. You're going Hendrick on it. So let's see. Let's
Yeah.
pull y'all up. Cup wieners. Who is going to win at the Roval? And I'll go in numerical order. We got 5 for Kyle Larson.
Props to them. They're trying so hard to get 77.
Yeah, too late. It's too late, bro. It's
Nah,
too
I'm
late.
not gonna. I am not
We
gonna
ain't
get
doing that.
drawn into that.
Yeah.
This late. Tell you what, the whole chat turns into 77s. We'll
Hey,
add it. at some
there
point.
is generally a lot of 45s though. I've seen a lot of 45.
Yeah, I definitely think the Hendrick guys have taken over. God, it's the same people doing 77, but it's still freaking funny.
Yeah, the poll's already up. All right, go nuts.
I think if it sticks with Kyle Larson like it is right now, though, all 5 of holy Jesus, there's a lot of 77.
It's too late.
So they're gonna accuse us of rigging a poll and then not letting their obvious choice get into this one.
Well, the argument it's dead to begin with because didn't they win the championship last year? So it's like, what's rigged? Like you all won last year. So
But
boy.
we'll let that roll for a while, and let's get into the final Super Chat stage break of the night.
Right.
We got some good ones, starting out with Marky Mark for 2, saying, howdy, folks.
Howdy, Marky Mark.
Yo, what's up?
I can't wait, though, for the chat to say that I'm rigging it in their benefit.
Let us help you.
77 backwards, guys. Alex Luft for 10. I've got a sinking feeling that the Larson-Elliott rivalry will be like the Senna, is it Prost feud?
Oh, Prost. Oh, that's a
F1.
classic.
I'm still an F1 noob. Teammates that grew to really hate each other. I hope so, because it's really fun watching their fan bases.
Oh, and then no, dude, they hated each other. I hate it.
I love fan bases that go against each other. It's fun. I just sit in the side and I'm just like, do it. Keep fighting. Garabuki for 5 says drivers whining about not being able to pass. Meanwhile, Denny moving from 30th to 4th in like 20 laps.
Yeah, stop crying.
A Prada for 20 says Dale Jr. and Michael Waltrip worked together in DEI's prime. However, they still challenged or hung each other out at times. Don't forget the 2002 Pepsi 400 or the 2004 Aaron's 499. The best speedway racers have always done it. That's why I was like, maybe Dale Jr. isn't the best one to talk about being loyal. Red Dog 81 for 5 says, if they had the choice to do so, would you have preferred NASCAR run a race or two during the Olympics on a streaming service like Prime as a tryout?
I don't know during the Olympics though.
The Olympics.
I don't think you can
catering and worship.
I don't. All it takes is one superstar to emerge. The next Simone Biles or something, and people will all tune in. Or Taylor Swift shows up, then everyone will tune in. I think if you're going to do a streaming tryout, you need to do like what they were proposing with Amazon, like a 6-race stretch. It can't just be like a one-off. I think you need to let it simmer for a few weeks and see if any momentum builds. That's my theory, at least.
I think they're probably just saying like as a one-off. But if they did, the thing is, the problem is it's on NBC's side of the year, so they just put it on Peacock and we get like 20 people to watch.
Oh yeah, Peacock. Yeah, I know.
No. Okay.
Let's see what we got here. Garabuki for 5 says, let it be known that all of my friends don't watch NASCAR on TV. We stream it because it's fun to watch together online. Plus, not paying for cable.
There you go.
There you go.
Never was cool, says for 5. If the next television deal doesn't have a simulcast for streaming services in the next deal with an ad-free experience, they will never catch F1 in views. Well, they're actually ahead of F1. But if we're talking about younger viewers,
you have
a very good conversation on that. Beeb for 2 says bring back the Gopher Cam. Maybe without the graphic, but they pretty much have it still.
Yeah.
Bumblebee for 20. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the pod race. That's what it says, actually. Take me out to the pod race. Take me out where it's loud. Buy me some blue milk and Ronto wraps. I don't care if I ever come back. Let's root for the Empire. It's 1, 2, 3 laps and blow up your planet at the old pod race.
I'll be at Hollywood Studios tomorrow. I'm going to get myself a Ronto wrap. Those are tasty.
Fly Supersonic for 949 says, hello, Fantastic Four. Last year, Ty Gibbs gave Sam Mayer a 2-piece biscuit. This year, Matt gave Nick Sanchez the 4-piece chicken wing with fried rice combo.
No, I think he just threw the hot grease on Nick Sanchez face.
What an analogy. Gosh.
I just lost my spot, so hold on. There we go. Tyler McGonigal with two $2 super chats. Byron's average finish for the round 2 is a 1.5. Very good. Very good.
Nice.
And also Deegan top 10. Hang the banner. Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
The gun, thank you for the 10. You have no arms or legs. We call to draw.
Gun. I love that. It's a funny name.
Jam plays games for 2. Imagine body checking a truck so hard at DNFs. Goat. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Phoebe for 5. Cameras missed the real story with Norm Benning swooping down in the garage area, pummeling both drivers and vanishing again, proving he is Batman. Justice. Antar Das for the 5. I just got out of rehearsal, and when I went to put my clarinet away, the entrance to our rehearsal hall smelled like a certain drug that starts with M.
Oh.
Nicholas, thank you for the 5. Imagine NASCAR's popularity if Taylor Swift started dating a NASCAR driver. By the way, the highlight of the race NASCAR posted on YouTube was number 28 trending videos. Hang the banner. No, I'm kidding. That's actually
yay. We're trending.
Groovy Goose for the 2. 2025 schedule idea. Run Talladega on Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the teams will love that. Oh yeah, they'll love that.
You mean to tell me I've got to go where?
At least you can get drunk to afterwards, so that's a positive, I guess. Groovy Goose for 10. Crafton. Oh my God. This is his words, not mine. Crafton is a washed-up has-been who should have retired years ago, taking the seat from a younger driver who could use it. Guess the winless seasons are worth it. To Sanchez, you need a better comeback. Damn.
Oh, damn. He got damn.
I don't care who won or lost that fight. Both them guys got leveled by that super chat.
Yeah, violated.
Never was cool for 5. NASCAR, he says, 1, NASCAR doesn't consider Atlanta a super speedway. And 2, I do like that now super speedways as a cutoff anywhere. Oh, that aren't a cutoff anywhere is probably what you mean to say. Yeah, I mean,
I liked it as the regular season cutoff. I'll just be honest. It was simple, easy to keep track of. One final chance to win your way in. Anyone can understand that. But I'm with you. NASCAR may not think of Atlanta as a super, like they have to, if they're being honest with themselves. I think they do, but like maybe like officially that's still like, oh, it's an intermediate track. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to say though, if Daytona is not the regular season finale after this year, there's really no point to me in putting it later in the year, or you have to have it somewhere that it'll matter ratings wise.
Yeah,
I'm still holding by it. I think at some point they're going to put it as the finale. I still think they're going to.
Yeah, either in the playoff, like either like to open up the playoffs or like a finale.
No, I think it could be the season finale at some point. It's an ISC track, a warm climate in November. Not much rain that time of year comparatively. Not much in the hurricane. I still think it's going to end up that way at some point. And when it does, I will sadly be like, oh, yeah, I was right. Great.
I told you so.
No, I wouldn't even say that. I'm just like, damn it.
I was
Fred Dog 81 though for 10. Let's bring it back to the present instead of the future. Best part of the 24 schedule: Texas no longer in the playoffs. Don't care how you scapegoat it. Texas sucks, or sugarcoat it, I should say. Does that? I'll say it loud enough for the back. Texas sucks. Spits at Whataburger to make Eric cry. Damn.
No, that place is good though.
Attack at you, Eric.
That place is harsh though. Damn.
You got a comeback for him?
Nah, he's too cool to care. He's too cool to care.
I don't know where he's from, but it's probably a lot sadder.
I like Whataburger.
Yeah, Whataburger's great.
Yeah.
Whataburger, Buc-ee's, Texas. You want junk food? You come to Dr. Pepper. I was gonna say, you want junk food? Come to Texas.
Yeah. You want diabetes?
Texas,
come to
Tennessee
Texas.
has all that stuff now, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also got HEB.
No, I have that.
Well,
one.
hey, you know what both have in common? They both all shut down when you get like a quarter inch of snow.
That's facts.
Yeah, true.
Ross Crash Stain for 2. Regular season finale on USA. Well, at least I don't know. There's a silver lining in there. I see Blue Jimmy in the chat. Diabetes. Rocky Gordon, thank you for being a member of the Iceberg. I appreciate it. I gotta think of a better name. It's like kind of seems I kind of make it sound like a cult. Welcome to the Iceberg. Tyler McGonigal, thank you for the 5. So happy the Roval is coming back. One of my favorite races of the year. Low-key upset that there's not a dirt race. Deegan to Xfinity, go Byron. I must say this. I liked the Bristol dirt race. I thought they had it right.
Yeah, I liked it too. I liked it too. But then, like, I don't know, like a bunch of people were like, no, thank God it's gone. I'm like, where did y'all come from?
I thought it was the pendulum. In 3 years, you're going to hear more people hate the concrete start, and then they're going to want to go back.
Seriously, yeah.
I was at all 3 dirt races. I supported it, but I was like, the gimmick, the novelty was gone after the 3rd year to me.
But also to the Deegan to Xfinity, no, not at all.
I mean, that's what the rumors are.
Yeah, but yeah, unfortunately.
Let's look a little further here. Ross Crash Stain for 2. Ty won a stage at the Roval in 2020. Why not? Flow for 2. Why choose a mid driver when your NFL team is also mid? My team's not mid. They suck. We all are. Darian, I don't care what you say about the Rams. All of our teams are mid to bad.
Rebuild.
I'm undecided on mine. 1 week they look horrible. The other week they can win the Super Bowl.
That is like the equivalent of NFL mediocrity right there. All of our teams are mediocre.
A couple things. Shout out to Puka, one of the greatest rookie wide receivers ever. And if they beat Philadelphia this weekend, I'm gonna go crazy.
Oh God, it'll be 2018 Darian. He'll be insufferable.
Crazy. Whoa. Let's not go too far now. Let's relax.
Anyway, Alessandro, thank you for the 10. This silly season has been silly to say the least. I would not be surprised if Hendrick Motorsports announces a manufacturer change from Chevy to Mini Cooper or Subaru at this point.
Subaru!
That should be made into a sound we can use. Hello FR for 2 says CMV, Talladega, or Daytona needs to be last race. Napa Racing Fan 927 for 2 says, why no Richmond doubleheader? Makes too much sense. Isaac for 2 says, hey guys, did you know Ty Dillon's driving the 54? By the way,
Yes.
the doubleheader for Richmond, I want to say, I do support it for this year. That's it.
And this year only.
This year only. And then Bread Dog 81 for 5. Sorry, Eric. I didn't mean it about Whataburger. I just hate Texas Motor Speedway that much. Damn.
It's okay, Fred Dog. I understand.
I had to send another super chat just to clarify.
I'm glad I didn't mean to. My haphazard retort wasn't that great, but I apologize for it.
And that'll do it. That'll do, Pig. That'll do for the super chats. Really quick, the poll is up. The jig is up. They finally found him. The winner that they're picking is Kyle Larson, 39% to Elliott's 31% and Byron's 28%. So you are picking Kyle Larson. All 5 of us have different picks for the Cup race. And
5.
And that's it, guys. Guys, I am looking at the itinerary right now, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shows remaining. We're going to be on Eric's channel next week on October 11th. And then October 18th is episode 250 on Danny B's channel. So back-to-back weeks you got to watch.
50.
Yeah, I can't believe we made it this long. But
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I do got to say, good to be back this week. Unfortunately, I will not be here next week. Do have to say that. Sorry, guys.
That's all good.
all good.
We'll take over.
But yeah, so we'll have a fun week next week either way, and episode 250 after that. But guys, I think that about covered. Why are you holding up?
Because you said it next week's show,
Oh,
October 11th.
11th. All right, guys. I think this is getting out of hand. Now there are 2, 3, 7 of them. Let's call it at that, guys. Let's head out. Y'all have a great night at home. Hope to see you again. We'll see you again in the coming weeks.
Goodbye.
Have a good one.
Goodbye.
Have some fun tonight. Go get the W. Hell yeah.
Goodbye.
Ready.
So long.
What the copy? Right foot down. We had to go plan. Unbelievable, man. Way to keep your head in it. Holy oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. What? Yeah. I'm done with it. It's your face. Set sail. Steve, you look beautiful. Look great.